We open on a VTuber's channel which has a staggering 3,102 subscribers, truly a titan. And the guy behind it, our main character, is predictably exhausted from the soul-crushing grind, because the VTuber agency he joined, Denjirasu, is apparently a bit of a dumpster fire. He's watching his colleague A, who is terrible at games but somehow still wildly popular, when suddenly a notification pings on his screen, catching him completely off guard. It is a super formal business text from someone named Katsuranishi asking for a meeting. On the other end is his manager, Katsuranishi Ritsu, who looks like she has never smiled. Our boy, ever the professional, puts on his headset and politely agrees to the call. And when she asks how things are going, he just laughs it off, admitting he is a total newbie. This manager then brings up his colleague, a certain A, who he says is doing great. And that colleague's full name is Reika Hannabi. Remember that name, folks. This is Reika, a punk rock VTuber who is absolutely crushing it with over 32,000 subscribers. Her whole brand is basically just rage quitting with maximum volume, a true artist. This high-energy persona gets views but also attracts a ton of trolls in her chat. But back on the call, his manager tells him not to sweat the haters, that is what staff is for. Our guy just calmly agrees, saying that kind of stuff does not bother him at all, explaining that his strong mental fortitude is the main reason the agency even hired him. Because plot twist, a previous male VTuber from their company had a tragic end. This cause was a relentless wave of slander and hate from anonymous online mobs, specifically the so-called unicorns who lost their minds when he interacted with female VTubers. See, before our guy joined, Denjirasu was an all-female agency, making any collabs a total minefield. This means every single move for our boy, now going by Yaminashi Botan, is a do-or-die situation. His manager, Katsuranishi, insists they are taking measures to deal with the backlash, real convincing. She promises they will take their time to slowly get the audience to accept him, a classic corporate non-plan. But our guy is not worried about his mental fortitude, he's got a different angle in mind, telling her that her slow and steady approach is probably already way too late to work. He admits he is a total amateur when it comes to streaming and corporate marketing, but he is absolutely confident in his professional skills and his ability to win this fight, because right now his VTuber persona is in a total freefall, and if he does not act, it is over. So he cuts her off with a single raised finger, ready to pitch his own idea, and with a devious grin he tells her there is a little something he wants to try. Katsuranishi is just completely lost, totally unprepared for this sudden show of initiative. Without another word, he clicks start stream, ready to dive headfirst into the troll-infested chat. His avatar, Yaminashi Botan, appears on screen, cheerfully greeting his audience for the night. A massive crowd of 23 viewers are watching, and he welcomes every single one of them. He then announces that tonight, as promised on Twitter, he is launching a brand new project. To be blunt, he calls it a complete revamp of his channel, which gets the chat curious. Leaning into the mic, he starts to lay out the specifics of his grand channel-saving plan, which is apparently a cooking stream complete with a cheesy lettuce cooking graphic. And the chat absolutely explodes in confusion, completely blindsided by this bizarre pivot. This chat immediately asks if he is actually in a kitchen, and Botan's avatar just grins, confirming it, and a shot of his real-life slippers on the floor proves he is not messing around, showing our boy standing in a very real, very clean kitchen with his streaming setup. His viewers are already skeptical, asking if this even counts as a revamp, which he kinda agrees with. But Botan, now in a virtual apron, insists food content is a powerful genre, from ASMR to tutorials. He then places a cutting board down, promising that what is coming next will change their minds, before slamming a gigantic, scaly monster limb right onto the counter, and the chat absolutely loses its mind, demanding to know what the hell that is. He lets the suspense hang for a beat with just a single, ominous phrase, then reveals with a wicked grin that it is a dungeon ingredient. For anyone confused, dungeons are basically monster-filled death traps where you can get rare loot and skills. His viewers are stunned, wondering how he got his hands on such a high-end item for a stream, but Botan just casually corrects them, saying he did not buy this thing at all, because he hunted it himself. His real job is being a professional explorer. This bombshell sends the chat into another frenzy, realizing he is a pro who is probably loaded. A flashback reveals he has been a professional dungeon diver since high school, making a living off it. And for an explorer, cooking monster meat is easy, but he needed a way to get it to the public. Since he could not just open a restaurant or deliver the goods, he was totally stuck. Until a brilliant idea hit him: if you cannot find a VTuber to collab with, become one yourself. And that, he explains to his stunned audience, is exactly how he ended up right here. Botan asks if cooking a monster sounds fun, and the chat poll shows they are absolutely here for it. One viewer even asks why he did not do this from the start, and Botan just kinda shrugs, yeah, good point. He admits he was holding back because the content is a bit intense, which only makes the chat go wilder. His viewers basically tell him he does not need any weird gimmicks if this is his normal, and he seems to agree. Deciding he has talked long enough, it is finally time to get down to business. And with a confident grin, he officially kicks off his lettuce cooking segment, a true showman. He throws up a peace sign, promising to deliver some serious food content for everyone watching. But first, he has gotta give them a little lore drop on the monster they are about to eat. This, he explains, is the claw of a tyrant crayfish found in a dungeon's freshwater area. To put it simply, it is a bear-sized crayfish with the strength of a tank, leaving the chat completely broken. His audience is now terrified, asking why he'd risk his life for this when orc meat is perfectly fine. He reads the comments, calculating it is about 80% pure worry and 20% stunned amazement. Botan just brushes it off, saying orc meat is a known brand, but this has way more impact, much to his fans' horror. Suddenly, a new viewer pops up in the chat, a total first-timer to the channel. This person, a fellow professional explorer, asks if this is the crayfish that shoots high-pressure water cutters. Our boy is absolutely delighted, confirming with a ding 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 that they are 100% correct. He then explains to the rest of the confused chat that this tyrant crayfish is a seriously tough mob. And when it is moving around near a body of water, things get a little dicey, because it can launch a water cutter attack powerful enough to slice clean through a tree. As the chat completely melts down in panic, Botan just laughs, totally unbothered by the mortal danger. This chat's resident tough guy is absolutely floored, realizing the streamer hunts things that are supposed to be unkillable. Another viewer asks the experts in chat to please explain in small words just how high-level this guy actually is. And the verdict is in: if Botan hunted that crayfish solo, he is without a doubt one of the top explorers in the entire country. We are talking the absolute upper echelon, the kind of pro who lives on a whole different level from everyone else. In fact, a whole party of those top-tier guys would get completely annihilated by this monster instant you dead screen. Botan then explains that this tyrant crayfish is a mid-level dungeon monster that everyone treats like the actual plague. See, most explorers play it incredibly safe, sticking to known routes and avoiding any real danger. But this thing is basically the dungeon's Grim Reaper, a monster you are supposed to ignore at all costs. Which means, he continues, laying out the logical next step for his stunned audience, that this meat is so rare you can only get it by hiring an elite explorer for an astronomical fee. His smug grin says it all. He is holding the ultimate unobtainable content right in his hands. This is the kind of stream that is going to blow all the haters and bad reviews into total oblivion. He even throws some shade, noting other channels just cook boring stuff like orc meat total snoozefest. With that, he whips out a knife the size of a short sword, finally ready to get to work. He gives the blade a professional once-over, totally in his element now that the real show is starting. And while this is a dungeon ingredient, he adds one more little detail for the class. It is a drop item, meaning the meat inside is perfectly preserved and packed tight. He then casually slices the shell open, revealing the pristine meat and causing the chat to completely short-circuit. Because it is so fresh, he says it is totally fine to eat raw as sashimi, prompting a full-blown panic in the comments. His viewers are absolutely losing their minds, calling it fake, while Botan has no idea what he just said wrong. Botan checks the chat, which is buzzing way more than he expected, and he understands their confusion. He just turns his back knife in hand and says he's got nothing to say about the whole sashimi thing. His avatar just smugly declares no comment, while the chat absolutely roasts him for bailing on an explanation. He basically says it is too complicated for their little brains to understand, so they should just accept it as fact, a masterclass in audience engagement. He then clarifies that most asterisk explorers can probably do it, and the chat immediately latches onto that probably. Someone in the chat is just like, wait, are you dissing the rest of humanity right now? An older viewer points out that ever since dungeons appeared, the laws of physics have been getting a little wonky anyway. Then a fellow professional explorer pops in to say, no, almost no one can do that, prompting the chat to point out the expert disagreement. Completely ignoring the existential debate he just started, Botan cheerfully decides it is time to pick the menu. Since this is way too much food for one sitting, he decides to only use half and save the rest for another day. A deadly serious expression crosses his face as he contemplates how to prepare this mythical dish. He weighs his options. Sashimi is a must, grilled is a classic, and a soup would round it out nicely, all while the chat just spams praise. Then with a confident smirk he announces, I have decided. He holds up 3 fingers, announcing the final menu: sashimi, grilled, and miso soup for a full 3-course meal. This sashimi portion is cut into massive pieces, looking like some kind of giant sweet shrimp, while the grilled portion is just the claw meat thrown right onto a tabletop stove for maximum effect. As for the miso soup, he just chucks in the leftover bits, figuring it'll make for an amazing broth. With the menu locked in, he grabs his tools and announces it is time for the main event, the cooking show. First things first, he fills a pot with water at the sink for the miso soup, then slaps it on the stove and fires up the burner. While the soup water heats up, Botan gets to work on the sashimi, moving like a total pro, and his knife skills are absolutely flawless, gliding through the meat as the chat watches in awe. Botan's avatar just grins, soaking in the praise for his surprisingly clean technique. With that, the sashimi course is done. 4 massive, perfect-looking slices are plated and ready. This leftover scraps get tossed right into the pot because you do not waste god-tier ingredients. Next up on the menu is the grilled portion, with the main claw meat sizzling away beautifully. He is a whirlwind of motion, adding veggies and slicing onions like a hibachi chef. This guy's got flair. And just like that, this full tyrant crayfish 3-course meal is complete, and the chat absolutely explodes with hype. Botan smugly takes a whiff, adding a quick little disclaimer for the viewers at home, clarifying that this thing is not a normal crayfish, so the whole do not eat it raw rule does not apply here. His avatar then has a mini panic attack about kids trying this at home, a very responsible content creator. To avoid any more complaints on his big debut, he decides it is finally time to just eat the damn thing. He sets the feast down in front of the camera, asking his stunned audience for their final verdict. And the sashimi looks so good the chat is practically begging for a taste test through the screen. Meanwhile, the grilled claw is glistening, with viewers declaring it is impossible for it to not be delicious. Even the soup is getting called food terrorism, and Botan confirms the flavor is guaranteed to be exquisite. He then reveals he sourced all the food from the dungeon's middle layer just to flex a little harder. A quick dungeonology lesson explains that the deeper you go, the more valuable the loot is. And for context, orc meat from the upper layer is already considered a delicacy on par with brand name pork. Meanwhile, another VTuber watches the stream while snacking, calling Botan out for just flexing on everyone. And he is not wrong, Botan's viewer count has absolutely skyrocketed to over 68,000 people, with the number just continuing to climb, leaving the other streamer completely stunned by the sudden explosion. He figures Botan's colleagues must have spread the word, but he never expected this kind of viral boost. Elsewhere, a pigtail-wearing VTuber is cackling with absolute glee over the chaos she has helped create, and she pops into chat to confirm it, saying of course she'd share something this insane with the world. A quick breakdown shows the viral chain reaction colleagues to fans to the entire Explorer community until he is trending. Then another colleague, Miko, admits she shared it too, mostly to make everyone else suffer from food envy, a true hero. Botan checks his phone, horrified to see he is trending for food terrorism, a title he never asked for. He is actually panicking because he was supposed to keep his distance from other VTubers to avoid drama. Revealing his biggest fear is not monsters, it is a massive influx of new viewers he has no idea how to handle. He just stands there, totally overwhelmed, as his colleagues' comments flood the chat and break his brain. This two of them are basically telling him to get over it and let them help, one with pure hype and the other with tsundere energy. For a second, Botan actually looks touched by their chaotic support, even if it is giving him an aneurysm. Though in his head, their support looks more like them chucking fireballs directly at his face. His real anxiety, however, is not about the fame, it is about the soul-crushing legal paperwork for appraising dungeon items. Deciding to procrastinate on his problems, he holds up the food and says he will deal with Miko later, who is not amused. He then puts his hands together to eat while his colleagues absolutely roast him for ignoring them in the chat. With that, he finally picks up a piece of sashimi, ready to start the long-awaited taste test. But before he eats, he puts the claw on the grill, explaining its shell is so tough it needs to cook slowly. Miko points out the shell is so tough it has insane heat resistance, so it needs to cook slowly on low heat. With the grill set, Botan happily announces he will start on the sashimi while they wait. He picks up a massive, glistening piece of crayfish meat ready for the first bite, no sauce needed. And down the hatchet goes, the moment of truth for this legendary dungeon ingredient. His eyes immediately pop wide open in pure, unadulterated shock. The flavor is unreal. For a solid few seconds, he is just completely frozen, leaving his entire audience hanging in agony. Then the reaction hits, a full-on blush and drool as the taste completely short-circuits his brain. His avatar literally splits in two to scream delicious, which is a perfectly measured response. Trying to compose himself, he is bombarded by chat demanding he describe the taste immediately. Botan explains it is like sweet shrimp and crab had a baby that also lifts weights, an S-tier ingredient. To take it to the next level, he adds a squeeze of fresh kabasu citrus for extra flavor. This sends his pigtail-wearing colleague into a screaming fit in the chat, demanding a piece for herself. This citrus-infused bite sends him right back to heaven, all while he expertly ignores his friends. He declares that just the sashimi alone is a 10-10 meal, a flex of the highest caliber. But the show's not over as he turns his attention back to the perfectly sizzling claw on the grill. His viewers are now convinced he is not even reading their comments, just lording his food over them. With a truly villainous grin, Botan confirms he is in a great mood because he is flexing on everyone. For the next course, he dramatically pulls out a small bottle of soy sauce and pours it directly onto the super hot claw, causing it to instantly vaporize. This incredible sound and smell of burnt soy sauce fills the air, driving the chat absolutely wild. Meanwhile, his colleagues are starting a full-blown turf war in the chat over who gets the first collab. Botan is completely oblivious, just gushing over his crayfish steak like a kid on Christmas morning. He takes a massive bite of the perfectly grilled claw meat, bracing for the flavor explosion, and it just completely knocks him out, leaving him speechless in his chair from pure, unadulterated bliss. His pigtail-wearing colleague is now having a full-on tantrum in chat, absolutely demanding a collab. Completely tuning out the drama, our boy moves on to the final course, the miso soup. He takes one single, cautious sip and the verdict is in, it is impossibly good. Trying to use the soup to calm his overloaded taste buds is a spectacular failure, because the rich broth just kicks his appetite into an even higher gear. This guy is just lost in a state of pure, unadulterated food euphoria, a truly beautiful sight. Then we get a sudden reveal, the real reason he even became a VTuber in the first place was to get his hero, a researcher named Jin Sakai, to try his dungeon cooking. To make that dream a reality, he knows he has to get way bigger on the platform. Back in the present, Miko is getting seriously ticked off by his radio silence in the chat. She is absolutely fuming that he is ignoring her, and we see her real name is Hanami Akari. Her avatar pouts, vowing that he is going to pay for this during their inevitable collab. We then see Hanami herself, a 19-year-old whose VTuber name is apparently Reika Hannabi. Lying in bed, she complains that he should have at least given his colleagues a heads up before this stunt. Botan gets a sudden chill, as if sensing the storm that is about to break over his head. That is because Hanami has decided to take matters into her own hands, phone already ringing. This next morning, Botan's phone is already going off the hook at his apartment, and he wakes up to a storm of notifications, looking absolutely stunned by what he is seeing. This post about his crayfish stream has gone completely viral overnight. The notifications are endless. His subscriber count has jumped to a staggering 150,000, and his Twitter followers are right there with him. Our boy is just sitting there, completely unable to process how a single stream blew up this much. To make things crazier, famous clippers have already chopped up his stream into viral highlights, and this whole clipper culture is a massive promotional engine which apparently even took his stunt overseas. Just then his phone starts ringing with a call from a Kanzaki. It is his manager, and she is absolutely losing her mind, congratulating him on the insane numbers. Botan meanwhile just mumbles that the revamp was a success, not exactly sharing her hype. She is not hearing it, pointing out he is now rivaling their agency's top talent after just one night. He gets all flustered, saying it is rude to even compare him to their legendary top streamer Amame Senpai. This Amame Senpai is basically the agency's untouchable goddess, a first-gen talent who is universally adored. Anyway, back to business. His manager wants to know his next move now that he is a viral sensation. Botan figures he needs to strike while the iron is hot and just ride this massive wave of hype. Literally picturing himself surfing on a giant crayfish, he is gonna ride this wave for all it is worth. His big idea is a 150k subscriber special, promising to cook something even more valuable than the last dish. But his manager thinks bigger, suggesting a collab would be the perfect way to celebrate the milestone. Botan immediately pumps the brakes, pointing out that organizing a proper collab would take forever. Besides, he has not even collabed with his own gen mate Reika Hannabi, so he is not about to jump into something huge. Botan explains his whole strategy has been to avoid collabs to keep drama to an absolute minimum. But now that he is famous, there is a proper order to things, like a row of dominoes he has to knock over. First on that list is his gen mate, the pigtail-wearing Reika Hannabi, who looks way too happy about this. Skipping her for a collab with someone else would immediately spark rumors that they hate each other. VTuber Drama 101. Considering the timing, he tells his manager it is probably better to just postpone the special stream for now. His manager counters, saying he can just have his colleagues drop by the chat to squash any beef rumors. She warns him that making a rash, overly bold move right now would be a terrible idea. Meanwhile, she is already compiling a list of his problematic statements for damage control, telling him she will handle it. Botan pitches his own idea: do a solo stream for the milestone to solidify his brand before any collabs. To his surprise, his manager actually agrees, seeing the solid logic in his plan. With that settled, she tells him to get the announcement ready while she informs the agency. This call ends, and our boy tosses his phone aside, ready to get this show on the road. He gets a big, dramatic stretch in, abs out for the world to see, and declares it is time to prep the stream. And just like that, the 150k special stream is live, with Botan's avatar greeting his massive new audience. Chat immediately explodes with congratulations, and his avatar notes they have already blown past 160,000 viewers. He's even getting a ton of love from overseas viewers, realizing just how far the clip spread. Our boy just laughs it off, telling everyone he basically woke up and found out he was famous overnight. He humbly thanks everyone for the support, while the chat is still losing its mind over 150k subs in one day. A big welcome goes out to all the new faces, and he promises he's got another delicious meal planned for them. With the pleasantries out of the way, he announces it is time to get right down to the main event. He announces that since this is a special stream, he is gonna cook something even more luxurious than last time, then immediately backpedals, saying his old viewers know he is not great at talking, so do not expect much. And with that incredibly awkward transition out of the way, Botan just completely pivots, declaring it is time to get to the main course, no more small talk. As chat calls him out for the abrupt change, he just says he is gonna roll the footage now, and then he unveils it, an absolutely colossal slab of marbled meat that looks divine. Chat immediately identifies it as top-tier beef, with one comment correctly guessing this is for the overseas fans. Which is 100% the plan, as he imagines his international viewers losing their minds over some quality meat. But then a comment catches his eye, something about his colleagues going absolutely feral while watching, and he has to double-check with chat if that is actually happening right now, which they confirm it is. Turns out his gen mates are furious he is doing this solo and have organized a group hate watch session. This confirmation hits him like a truck, because we see the whole crew huddled around one monitor, screaming their heads off at his stream. Botan just smiles, saying if they are all watching, he has gotta put on a show for them too, so he gets right to it, ready to explain the legendary ingredient he is about to cook. This, he reveals, is a drop from a forged demon bull, and it is not just any cut, it is the Chateaubriand. A quick diagram explains this is the absolute best part of the tenderloin, the most tender cut in existence. And you can only get about 600 grams from an entire cow, which sends the chat into a state of shock. Of course, the forged demon bull is about 5 to 6 times the size of a normal cow, so there is that. and its body is a ridiculous combination of supermass and muscle, a fact that leaves the chat utterly speechless. To demonstrate just how absurd this meat is, he decides to give his audience a little show, and with a single tap of his knife, the blade completely shatters against the slab of beef. He just smiles through the chaos while chat absolutely loses its mind, asking if he is okay. Turns out the muscle fibers in this thing are literally as strong as wire, making it uncuttable by normal means. Botan just casually reassures everyone he caught the broken blade midair, like a normal person. With the demonstration over, he announces it is finally time to get cooking for real. Tonight's menu is a forged Demon Bull Chateaubriand Hamburg steak, made with 100% pure beef, no fillers. In other words, it is a full-on meat festival, a glorious parade celebrating the pinnacle of beef. His first step is to turn the slab into minced meat, which Chad immediately points out is logically impossible. This viewers are rightfully skeptical, wondering how you're supposed to chew something that can break steel, but our boy just grins, promising to use a special method that no one at home should ever try to replicate. And with that, a special skill begins to activate. His eyes glow as he taps into his unique ability, a lay of Inanna. We get a quick explainer that dungeon explorers can gain these mysterious powers called skills, and his allows him to perceive the fundamental principles of the world and temporarily rewrite them for a specific purpose. This end result is a technique that can instantly and perfectly process any target. He unleashes his signature move, 1,000 cuts, a flurry of invisible blades descending on the meat. This sheer focus is intense, the grid-like pattern of the attack reflected in his eye, and in an instant the indestructible slab is turned into a perfect pile of mince, leaving the chat utterly baffled. Botan just smirks at the chat's collective meltdown, admitting he pulled that stunt just for the drama. He then warns everyone that even as mince, this stuff is still incredibly dangerous to handle. Apparently, you have to use a skill to harden your hands or the meat wires will shred them, a totally normal cooking tip. He casually adds that other explorers can probably do the hand hardening part, as if that is the only insane step here. But as it is, the meat is still inedible, so he has to meticulously knead it until it finally softens up. And after some serious work, the once indestructible meat is now perfectly soft and pliable under his touch. This whole secret, he explains, is breaking down the fibers before applying heat to unlock the flavor. But the chat catches him hesitating, asking the million-dollar question, has he actually ever eaten this before? And he just flat out admits it with a grin, yep, this is his first time ever trying this stuff. Our boy laughs, saying he'd normally just eat convenience store meals instead of dealing with this much hassle. He then reveals the very simple reason he was willing to go through all this trouble for the stream. It is because he just knew with absolute certainty that it was going to be delicious. He lays out a basic dungeon rule: the deeper you go, the higher the quality of the loot you find. By that same logic, ingredients from the deepest floors are guaranteed to be top tier, no matter how weird. With the theory lesson over, he announces the marathon kneading session is finally complete. Now it is time to season the massive patty and slap it into shape, getting all the air out. He decides a 1 kilo patty is a good start, prepping a stone plate for the main event. This massive patty hits the hot stone, sizzling instantly, still impressively firm for such a tender cut. So much juice is already rendering out that he realizes he has gotta make a sauce to go with it. Meanwhile, his colleague's hate watch has devolved into a full-on screaming match of pure, unadulterated food envy. One of his gen mates is practically drooling, telling everyone to just hold on a second. And back in the pan, the rendered juices are being turned into a sauce that already looks legendary. Even Botan admits the smell alone is making him ridiculously hungry. After searing the patty on all sides, he sets it aside for just a moment, because wasting all that flavorful oil would be an absolute crime against humanity. He starts whipping up a red wine reduction sauce, and Chad is convinced he is a professional chef in disguise. But when he puts the patty back, his viewers start panicking that it is still raw in the middle. Botan just smugly points to a hot plate he has had warming up this whole time, explaining the plan is to finish cooking it right at the table, Teppanyaki style. He tells everyone to look up this type of Hamburg steak, and Chat immediately starts planning to make their own. Of course, he immediately warns them not to try this, but nobody's listening. His main reason is that the splattering fat will absolutely destroy your kitchen, a very practical concern actually. With a devilish grin, he says that is why his viewers should just go pay for it at a restaurant while he torments them. Just then, a comment from Reika pops up, demanding an off-collab because the stream is too good to ignore. Botan tells his colleagues to calm down, surrounded by a sudden flock of pigeons for some reason. He finally caves, saying if they are gonna make this much noise, they might as well just do a proper collab. So he opens the floor for requests, telling them to send over whatever they want since they are so invested. And the requests from his gen mates come flooding in instantly. They want everything from a full course to expensive booze. Peeking out from the side of the screen, Botan just sighs, saying he gets the message loud and clear. And with that, the final dish is served, a massive forged Demon Bull Hamburg steak set looking absolutely divine. With the masterpiece complete, Botan announces it is finally time for the official taste test, and he tells his audience to bear witness to this legendary first bite. His fork sinks into the once indestructible meat, revealing just how impossibly tender it has become. And the second he cuts it, a literal volcano of juices erupts from the patty. Our boy just stares, completely stunned by the sheer amount of flavor pouring out. This meat releases all its locked-in moisture like a fountain, a truly glorious sight. But he is not done yet because now it is time to add the sauce. Chat is absolutely losing its mind as he gets ready to pour, calling him the Mountain Lord. At this point, he has completely tuned out the comments, focused only on the meal before him. He smothers the steak in that rich red wine reduction, and the chat collectively dies from food envy. Botan just starts laughing like a madman, totally overwhelmed by his own culinary genius. Lifting a single glistening piece, he knows this is going to be beyond anything he has ever tasted, and he takes a deep breath, bringing the fork to his mouth for the final verdict. This bite is in, a moment of pure, unadulterated culinary contact. And his entire world just shatters into a million delicious pieces. Our boy is rendered completely speechless, unable to even process what is happening. As he tries to form words but nothing comes out, the flavor is just too powerful. He then realizes he cannot just leave chat hanging, he has to find a way to explain this divine experience. So he starts typing, trying to capture the feeling of something hard as steel melting on his tongue. But words fail him, so he just goes right back in for another massive bite, totally defeated by deliciousness. He follows up the god-tier steak with a massive serving of plain white rice, and our boy just starts inhaling it, completely lost to the world, going back for more rice like a man possessed by pure flavor. A deep, satisfied sigh is literally the only food review his audience gets for a solid minute. Botan finally resurfaces with a blissful smile, declaring total victory as chat calls this food terrorism. He then offers a half-hearted apology for completely abandoning the stream just to stuff his face, before smugly declaring that this is just how his cooking streams go, so everyone should get used to it. And with that, he waves goodbye, abruptly ending the special broadcast right then and there. Leaning back, he admits he just could not help himself. The food was too good to waste time talking. But as he turns away from his desk, he seems to have one last thing to say. Suddenly, he is in a fancy fur-lined coat, formally thanking everyone for attending his 150K subscriber stream. He gives a shout-out to his staff and the viewers who have supported him from the very beginning, expressing his genuine gratitude for getting the chance to be seen by so many people. A colleague pops in via chat to congratulate him, insisting the success is all his own merit. She lays out the next steps for his career, from securing a core fanbase to boosting his fame in the country. Botan just bows humbly, asking everyone for their continued support on his journey. With all the official business concluded, he finally clicks the button to end the stream for good. This second it is over, he collapses back into his chair, completely drained but relieved. At that exact moment, a young man with dark hair appears behind him, looking totally confused. It is his manager, wondering what he is doing there immediately after the stream just ended. Botan is absolutely frozen, caught red-handed in his post-stream collapse by his manager. His manager just holds up a phone, showing a message from a colleague named Hannabi about a consultation. Turns out it is a proposal for an off-collab with his gen mates, which sounds suspiciously like a trap. We then jump to a girl with a beret waving at a door, calling out for Botan because it is time. Botan looks completely dead inside as she tells him to get ready for their broadcast, and with a sudden burst of energy, the stream kicks off with a super cheerful wave. It is Botan and his gen mate, Reika Hannabi, officially starting their first ever collab stream together. Hannabi is at a solid 11, demanding Botan match her energy, which he is clearly not doing. He just smiles for the 20,000 viewers, saying he has kept them waiting in more ways than one. She is practically vibrating with excitement, celebrating that the official ban on collabs is finally over. Apparently they have been talking behind the scenes this whole time, and now they can finally be public about it. But she is all business, telling him to quit the small talk and get to the main event already. He tries to lay down the law, saying his channel gets right to the action, no messing around. This chat is getting antsy for details, and Hannabi agrees it is time for the big reveal. So with a massive flourish, she finally announces what today's collab is all about. It is the official GenMate collab, and she smugly adds that he is not getting away this time. This theme is a luxurious dinner by Chef Botan, and she has got a ridiculous mask for the occasion. So the deal is, he is using his dungeon ingredients to cook for her, basically cashing in a favor from his last stream. Chad immediately starts freaking out, but Botan seems to notice one of their other gen mates is missing. Hannabi just shoves a mic in his face, demanding to know what Chef Botan has on the menu for tonight. Cornered, Botan listens as Hannabi announces he will be serving up some luxurious seafood by popular demand, and she immediately demands to know just how expensive this meal is, leaving Botan to stammer about market prices. But then a light bulb goes off as he recalls a news story about a dungeon fish selling for 2 million yen. So he casually estimates his own ingredients are worth at least double that, a totally normal price point. Hannabi's brain just completely short-circuits at the mention of a multi-million yen price tag for dinner. Meanwhile, their colleagues argue that it is technically worthless if he just eats it himself, like a fisherman's lunch. This chat immediately gets suspicious, asking if the Mountain Lord is maybe forgetting to pay his taxes. He just scoffs, explaining he has a professional accountant to keep all his dungeon business completely legal. Our boy then points out there is a fundamental difference in their understanding of the world. Because for him, a casual stroll through the dungeon with a stick earns 10 times a salaryman's annual income. Hannabi is just stunned as he explains there is zero incentive for crime when you can get this rich legally. He calls it the ultimate life hack, being able to solo the lower floors without any gear is just that broken. It finally clicks for her that Botan is not just rich, he is operating on a completely different economic plane. She tries to back out of the whole thing, saying it is too expensive, but Botan physically stops her from bailing. He gets right in her face, reminding her that all dungeon ingredients are crazy expensive, so what did she expect? Hannabi absolutely loses it, screaming that she knew they were valuable but not buy a car valuable. She even insists she was fully prepared to pay him back for the meal on the sly. But Botan just dismisses the idea, saying this is not the kind of stuff you just casually serve to others. He then drags her to a seat, refusing any payment because money would just make things complicated. Our boy just sighs, explaining the whole point was to cause a scene with ridiculously high-end food for the stream. Hannabi is having a complete meltdown, screaming that her gen mate is way more unhinged than she ever imagined. Botan just tells her to handle the stream while he starts cooking, leaving her to deal with the chaos. Even their other gen mate in chat agrees that Botan's common sense is completely broken. Ignoring all of them, he pulls out a small, unassuming pouch from somewhere off-screen and yanks out a fish the size of a torpedo, ready to get started while Hannabi begs him to stop. She is completely losing her mind, demanding to know where that monster even came from. Our boy just casually holds up the giant sea creature like it is a baguette he picked up from the store. She points out the obvious, asking if he seriously pulled that massive thing out of that tiny little bag. He thinks she is worried about freshness, assuring her time is frozen inside, which is not her primary concern right now. Hannabi finally screams the obvious problem: the size of the fish and the bag just do not match up at all. Turns out it is a spatial pouch, a classic item box with a time stop feature, and she cannot believe it is real. Chat immediately explodes, calling it one of the most broken items in existence. Someone else points out this is a nation-level strategic asset, questioning why a random streamer just has one. A viewer then recalls a news story about the US government buying a similar item for a cool 40 billion yen, and Hannabi's soul just leaves her body. She is just staring at the terrifying comments flooding in while Botan is ready to start slicing and dicing. He casually explains that since it is soulbound to him, its official asset value is zero, a perfect tax dodge basically. Putting the multi-billion yen bag aside, he pulls out a massive dungeon lobster like it is nothing. He presents the appetizer, a platter of grilled and raw lobster that looks absolutely divine. Botan then asks if she can even eat shellfish, and all she can do is give a weak nod, totally broken by the situation. Hannabi is completely overwhelmed, saying this whole collab is way too much for her poor heart to handle. Botan just flashes a smug grin, promising that one bite will make her forget all her trivial little problems. Just then some staff members pop in from off-screen, asking if they can get a taste of the legendary meal too. Defeated by peer pressure and her own curiosity, Hannabi finally gives in and gets ready to eat. She rallies, declaring that good food is meant to be shared as everyone gathers around the table. Hannabi then asks if Chef Botan will be joining them, but he is already busy with the next course bubbling away. He just gives a simple okay, grabbing his chopsticks to finally join the feast himself. With everyone assembled, they all give a hearty "let us eat" and prepare to dive into the dungeon lobster. Hannabi takes her first bite, a moment of pure, unadulterated culinary contact. And her entire world just shatters, her eyes going wide with total disbelief at the flavor. Her brain completely short-circuits from the taste, while Botan just watches, enjoying the absolute chaos he has created. This staff are also in heaven, asking how this is even possible, and Botan just shrugs, "It is dungeon food, what did you expect?" A helpful diagram explains that dungeon creatures are fundamentally different from normal animals, hence the god-tier taste. Hannabi starts crying that this is basically cheating, knowing she can never go back to regular shrimp again. She's got a full-on nosebleed from the flavor overload but physically cannot stop eating it. The addiction is real. Botan casually asks if she is okay, since the main course is next and he is worried she might actually start crying for real. She immediately snaps back, accusing him of spreading rumors that she is crying, which she totally is. Unfazed, he just tells her to get her chopsticks ready for the next dish, holding up the now empty platter. With a smug look, she wonders if the main course can possibly be as good as that appetizer was. Seconds later, she's passed out on the floor as Botan denies she has had enough, with chat absolutely loving the drama. With the appetizer done, Botan announces it is time to get on with the main course, and he dramatically unveils a slab of fish so massive Hannabi is just completely stunned. Who can only ask what in the world that is, as he explains it is a dungeon-drop tuna. Or more accurately, a monster that just happens to look and taste like a tuna, totally different. He reveals its official name is Cannonball tuna, which does not sound ominous at all. And the name is literal, it is a cow-sized fish that shoots through the water like a living missile. Brushing past the mortal danger, he just points out the different cuts of fatty toro on its belly. And Hannabi's brain finally reboots, her first instinct being to ask if she can tweet a picture of it. He gives her the green light, telling her to go nuts since they cannot show it on video anyway. And her tweet immediately explodes with comments valuing the fish at a minimum of 4 million yen. As she is processing that, Botan casually mentions it'd probably fetch 30 million at auction, before laying out the rest of the meal: vinegared rice, nari, and miso soup. This sight of the vinegared rice makes it click for Hannabi, who realizes they are making sushi, which Botan confirms by holding up a perfect hand roll, saying it is the ideal casual meal. She is horrified at the idea of using the whole thing, but he just compares it to a pre-cut pack from the store. Hanabi's brain officially gives out, deciding it is better for her sanity to just embrace the madness. She turns to the massive slab of fish, making one final, defiant declaration about the situation. But Botan just laughs, promising that soon she will not be able to think about anything at all. With the banter over, he grabs a massive blade and announces it is finally time to start slicing. This first cut is about to be made, the knife itself practically gleaming with anticipation. With a single, clean motion, Botan starts carving up the massive fish belly with surgical precision, and he then expertly separates the slab into perfect sections of lean, medium, and fatty toro. Before moving on to slicing the block into generous, thick pieces for sashimi, and in what feels like seconds, an entire platter is piled high with perfectly arranged slices. Even the scraps are not wasted as he starts mincing the leftover bits into a fine paste, to which he adds a dollop of miso and a healthy squeeze of wasabi for flavor. And our boy then goes full-on pro chef, dicing and mixing it all together at lightning speed. This result is a perfectly prepared bowl of what looks like some kind of god-tier negatoro, as he even scrapes the last bits of meat off the skin, making sure absolutely nothing is wasted. And with a flourish, he presents the final masterpiece, a full-on luxury tuna sushi set complete with the head for flair. Hanabi's brain finally reboots, screaming that she has a million things to say about this whole situation. And she complains that while she was distracted, he has already moved on to cooking something else in the background with fire. Looking at her phone, she sees chat losing its mind and realizes he has made enough for the entire staff too, while he just flashes a peace sign, casually mentioning the whole prep took him maybe 3 minutes flat. Botan just tells her to quit overthinking and just eat, which she cannot even argue with at this point. And he has got this incredibly smug look on his face, practically daring her to complain. With a sigh, she just listens as he points out the different cuts of toro, from fatty to lean. So deciding to go all in, she picks up a glistening piece of the fattiest toro for her first-hand roll. She takes a massive bite, bracing herself for another round of culinary-induced brain damage. And just like that, she is gone, vanished from her seat, leaving Botan completely confused. Botan asks how the food is, only to find Hannabi has completely face-planted onto the table. And he just smirks, admitting he totally saw this coming, the expected result of his cooking. She pops back up, but she is just silently, mechanically chewing with dead eyes as chat begs for a review. A narrator explains that when humans eat something truly divine, their brains simply break, or to be more precise about the whole situation. This flood of flavor data from her tongue completely freezes her higher functions, turning her into an eating machine. He points out she has only had one piece and tells her to stop savoring it so much, then leans in with a devilish grin, whispering for her to just keep eating, which is incredibly creepy. Chad immediately gets the chills, calling him a demon who is forcing her past a point of no return. Someone in chat outright asks if he is a sadist, and Botan just looks offended by the very suggestion. He yells that this is just a performance because his collab partner froze, but Chad is not buying it for a second. They point out his true, twisted nature is leaking through his act while Hannabi just keeps on munching. As chat suggests setting him on fire, Botan genuinely wonders if he is actually flammable, before snapping out of it and screaming that you cannot just do that to people. Hannabi suddenly reboots, asking why he has just been silently eating this whole time, and Botan just loses it, yelling that she has become a literal eating doll, like he flipped a robot's on switch. He then pulls out a torch and a gas can, saying the fact he even thought of this proves he is a sadist. Our boy just gives a sly look, basically telling everyone not to take his unhinged jokes so seriously. Meanwhile, the entire staff is also silently devouring the tuna, lost in their own food comas. Botan just sighs, wondering what to do with the stream until Hannabi's consciousness decides to return. With his partner down for the count, Botan just takes over the stream, creating a hashtag for his Cannonball Tuna squad. And by the time Hannabi's brain reboots, all the food is gone and our boy is just casually washing the dishes, the perfect crime. Sometime later, a different streamer is wrapping up her own broadcast, mentioning her troubled but successful collab with Hannabi. And this is Amame Ikika, a senior streamer who is kicking off her own collab with a tiny Botan peeking from behind her. She hypes up her partner for the day, gesturing dramatically to introduce him to her audience, teasing that he is a rookie who has been making some serious waves lately, and is currently the talk of the entire streaming world for obvious reasons. Before revealing her partner is, of course, the chaos agent himself, Botan. But instead of his usual smug energy, he gives this incredibly stiff and formal bow, which completely freaks Ikika out. Turns out he actually sees his senpai as a genuinely kind person, a rare show of respect from this guy. A quick flashback shows she was one of the few who was nice to him after some unspecified incident, and because she helped him out when he was struggling, he feels he owes her big time. Which translates to this absurdly deep apologetic bow that has her begging him to please stand up straight. He declares his formal apology phase is over and he will act normal now, but she is still recovering from the sheer awkwardness. Now he is just a floating head admitting he is super nervous, while Ikika just deadpans, asking if he is still being stiff. She is genuinely shocked that the guy with a god complex can even get nervous, wondering what on earth he thinks of her. Thankfully, the tension breaks and they share a laugh, with Botan joking that she just exposed his one weakness. With the ice officially broken, Ikika gets the stream back on track, ready to reveal their plan for the day. She announces they are going to be playing a game together, pulling up what looks like a very spooky horror title. Ikika asks if he is cool with a horror game for their first collab, and it seems they are both ready to get started. Botan sheepishly admits this whole horror game situation is actually his fault, because his dungeon-honed reflexes make him way too op for fighting games against normal people, so they had to pick a horror game purely for the stream-worthy freakouts, of course. He asks if a cooking stream would have been better, casually joking he'd just give her a stomach ache. Ikika reminds him that after the Hannabi incident, management officially banned him from all cooking collabs. Back in the present, he just stares at the screen, clearly not thrilled about this whole setup. Our boy then asks if she can even handle horror, pointing out she seems like the type to scare easily. She just gives this smug little grin, admitting she is a total scaredy cat who watches anyway. Chad immediately confirms it, saying she is famous for loving horror despite screaming her head off constantly. Botan suggests she take the controls to go at her own pace, which she gratefully accepts. He then declares he will just be on commentary duty, leaving her to face the terror alone. What a guy to really set the mood. Ikika decides it is time to kill the lights in the room, and with a single click on the start button, the game officially begins. This intro sets a classic scene, a lone girl walking down a dark road at night. We get a close-up of her sneakers on the pavement, every step echoing in the silence. This story explains she is heading home late after getting a little too into her club practice. Bam! A massive ghost face jump scares the screen, and Ikika's little avatar just loses it. Back in the studio, she is totally rattled while Botan calmly asks about the weird noise she just made. Meanwhile, the in-game character is just standing there, wondering if she imagined the whole thing. But then she looks at her phone, seeing something just off-screen that catches her eye. This in-game character gets a ghost face on her phone, and Ikika's avatar just completely loses it. So Botan calmly asks if she is really a fan of horror, considering she is about to have a meltdown. She just sits there, looking like her soul has already ascended to the next plane of existence. Ikika points out that he did not even flinch at the jump scare, and he is just like, of course not. He then explains that if an explorer flinches at a surprise, they just die, which is not helping. This gives Ikika a sudden, terrifying realization about why he is so completely unfazed. Turns out he is just desensitized. When you fight monsters daily, a horror movie is just background noise. He then gets all philosophical, saying it is unfair to judge fiction by the standards of his messed-up reality. And our boy asks why she cannot just be scared like a normal person, which somehow gets a laugh out of her. Meanwhile, back in the game, the protagonist is just sprinting for her life in absolute terror. Ikika then remembers hearing that explorers have a sixth sense for ghosts and asks if it is true. Botan just ponders the term sixth sense for a moment, looking like he is about to drop some serious lore. She immediately starts to backpedal, assuming it was just a silly rumor she heard somewhere. But then he just casually drops that he can, in fact, see ghosts, and chat absolutely explodes. With everyone's full attention, he holds up a finger, ready to give a full-on lecture. He explains that using skills and magic constantly sharpens an explorer's senses to a superhuman degree, and Ikika connects the dots, asking if that is the sixth sense, to which he is like, yeah, pretty much. He continues, explaining that some monsters are astral type, which are basically just ghosts you can punch. After fighting enough of them, you just naturally learn to sense their presence, like tuning a radio channel. So she asks if he can exorcise them, but he clarifies that explorers just hunt them like any other monster. Ikika asks if he can handle real ghosts, and Botan just laughs, flexing that he can take them down no problem, which immediately gives her a brilliant idea. They could do a real-life ghost hunting stream with him as the bodyguard. And she hits him with the puppy dog eyes until he agrees, while chat loses its mind over how casually they are planning this. As the viewers are absolutely hyped, calling it a legit horror project with a real-life explorer. Someone in chat immediately suggests they play hide-and-seek alone, a notoriously creepy ritual, while another viewer ups the ante, demanding they try some dangerous summoning spells because of course they do. Botan clarifies he is not a psychic, but chat's convinced he makes everything safe, so he just agrees to help out. And he just sighs, completely resigned to his fate as the designated ghost puncher for their streams. But Ikika snaps them back to reality, saying they need to focus on beating the current horror game first, which leads to a quick flashback of Botan pointing out that this whole horror collab was her idea in the first place. This screen flashes white as a thought trails off. He clearly did not expect things to go this way. Then we see someone typing furiously, signaling a time skip and some online drama brewing. On a forum, fans are wondering where Botan is, remembering he went into a dungeon for a week after the collab, when suddenly a new post drops the news. Botan has officially tweeted that he is back from the dungeon. But the very next comment reveals he immediately stepped on a social media landmine and is getting absolutely flamed, leaving another user just baffled, asking how you can possibly return from a dungeon and instantly start a controversy. This scene then shifts to a new character walking down a dark street, lamenting how things got so out of hand. And we see him on his couch, phone in hand, sweating bullets over the massive online firestorm he has caused. This cause of all this drama, he just tweeted about rescuing a stray cat on his way home from the dungeon. And now he is staring at his phone, completely bewildered by the insane reaction he is getting. He is scrolling his phone when he sees a shocking news report about a virtual idol named Yuta. This idol, Iroha na Yuta, is apparently in some kind of critical condition. And she is not just anyone, she is a superstar with over 1 million subscribers, a titan of the industry. But some terrible misfortune befell her, sending shockwaves through the entire streaming world. Scrolling through the headlines, Botan sees rumors of her death and details of the accident everywhere, which turns out to be a fall down some stairs that left her completely unconscious. Her fans are absolutely losing it online, demanding answers from her management who have gone silent. Back on his couch, Botan admits he is genuinely stunned, having only seen clips of her before. And with a sudden look of clarity, he seems to connect the dots, realizing that while he is getting flamed for a misunderstanding, she is the one who actually needs help. This problem is, as a handy graphic points out, he and this other streamer have absolutely zero official connection. He gets why people are mad. If he were dying, his fans would riot if a rival used a life-saving potion on a cat instead. Our boy just panics, yelling that he was totally out of the loop. A nearly dead cat literally fell on him. Just then his phone starts ringing, snapping him out of his spiral, and the caller ID shows it is none other than Hannabi Reika. He picks up the phone and she immediately asks if he's got a minute to talk. On her end, she is trying to wrangle her own chaotic pet while assuring him she is fine, explaining she called because she was worried about the whole cat controversy blowing up. Botan just goes full psycho mode, telling her online hate is less painful than a monster bite. These people have no perspective. Hanabi seems to have an idea, mentioning that if her memory serves her right, she might have a solution. Hanabi's on the phone, explaining that Ikika is secretly pulling strings to help the injured idol Yuta, and she drops the bombshell that Ikika and Yuta were actually friends in their past lives before becoming streamers. Botan's brain short-circuits as he learns about the secret world of VTuber identities and their real-life connections, because this whole industry has a massive wall between the streamer and the person behind the screen. For big companies, hiring a total nobody is a huge financial risk. They prefer seasoned pros, so they usually poach talent from other platforms, people who already have a following and experience, which she points out makes both her and Botan the weirdo exceptions who got hired with zero clout. Hanabi says because of that old friendship, she has decided to get involved even if it is messy. She explains Ikika is in a tough spot, she wants to help her friend but cannot just ask Botan for a life-saving potion. And our boy listens, realizing Ikika is too proud to ask for help, even for a friend in critical condition. Hanabi throws up a peace sign, joking that her streamer persona is just too kind to make such a selfish request of a colleague. Botan just grins, saying he does not mind a little meddling and tells her to pass on a message, confidently telling her to let Ikika know he is on the case, the hero we need with a cat on his shoulder. Hanabi is just completely touched by his immediate willingness to jump in and help, no questions asked. Of course, his cool moment is instantly ruined by the cat attacking his face while he is trying to be a hero. Meanwhile, Hanabi's dealing with her own pet freaking out, admitting this whole plan is not exactly going smoothly. While Botan is getting mauled, she suggests the cat might just be hungry and need some milk. A light bulb goes off and he grabs a baby bottle, thanking her for the life-saving, or at least face-saving, advice. And just like that, the tiny chaos demon is peacefully drinking from the bottle, problem solved. Botan finally gets a moment of peace, cradling the now calm kitten and letting out a massive sigh of relief. With the kitten finally calm, Botan turns his attention back to his phone to deal with the fallout, because now he has been summoned to the office to have a very serious chat about the online drama. His destination is Digigrass, his talent agency, time to go face the corporate music. 2 days have passed since the incident, but the internet firestorm is still raging. So our boy walks into headquarters, cat carrier in hand, ready for a serious discussion with management. He immediately spots someone waiting for him, looking a little surprised himself. Turns out it is his manager, and he quickly apologizes for dragging her into this mess so early. She leads him into a conference room, telling him to wait there for the president to arrive. But then she notices his little companion, asking if that is the cat causing all the trouble. This manager immediately melts, completely captivated by the adorable little agent of chaos. Botan gets a bit flustered by her sudden interest, stammering an apology for bringing it along. He explains the kitten is too young to be left alone, and she notes how tiny it is in person. This plan is to just leave the carrier on the floor during the meeting, which the cat seems perfectly fine with. But the manager is having none of it, insisting she cannot let such a cutie be ignored, a true cat person. And the kitten just soaks it all in, flashing a grin that says, "I own this place now." She then connects the dots, asking if he is a cat person since his Discord icon is a cat. Her mood shifts, though, as she mentions how awful it is that people are flaming this tiny animal online. Botan's expression darkens in agreement, calling their behavior completely unforgivable. Gripping the chair, he recalls the angry comments demanding the potion for their idol instead of a stray. Staring out the window, he tells his manager he gets why they are mad and can just take the heat. He says he can take the heat, but as the kitten peeks out, there is one thing he cannot forgive. Because honestly, this whole situation is just making him absolutely furious. He has been called a fraud and a criminal before, even told to die, just another Tuesday on the internet. Our boy has heard it all over the years, so he is pretty used to the online hate mobs. But all that was just him pushing boundaries and taking risks, which he was totally fine with. This time, however, is completely different, and he is absolutely not letting this one go. Because now they are not just attacking him, they are sending death threats to a tiny, innocent kitten. And worse, they are dragging Yuta's name through the mud just to justify their insane rage. Just then the door opens, and the president of the company walks in with two other people. His manager lets out a horrified gasp, clearly not expecting what she is seeing. Botan is on his feet, bowing so low he is practically folded in half in a formal apology. He looks up, completely flustered and ready to face whatever corporate punishment is coming his way. This kid immediately starts apologizing for causing such a huge mess, trying to keep his composure. But the president just introduces the newcomers, Yuta's manager and a guy from the legal department. Botan awkwardly introduces himself, still reeling from this sudden high-stakes meeting. Then the legal guy starts bowing and apologizing profusely to him which just confuses everyone. Our boy is just completely baffled, wondering what the hell is even happening anymore. He peeks into the carrier, asking the kitten if he really looks that intimidating to these people. And the cat just gives him this smug little grin, basically confirming, yes, you absolutely do. Meanwhile, a news report flashes on screen. The company has released an official statement about the incident. This joint statement drops, and it is basically a corporate speak for shut up or get sued, a classic PR move. Botan just watches the official announcement go out, looking completely unbothered, like this is just another Tuesday. In fact, he has got this terrifyingly smug grin, thinking about how the fans' outrage is actually playing right into his hands. But his expression hardens, revealing this was his plan all along. He is not just reacting, he is orchestrating, and his next move. An important announcement stream which immediately sends his chat into a moderation nightmare. This screen flashes to live, and just like that, the main event begins. His avatar appears, all decked out in a suit, formally introducing himself before he drops the bomb. He just stands there for a second, letting the chat's hype build as they all spam that they have been waiting for him. Immediately, the chat is nothing but a wall of text begging him to save Yuta, completely ignoring everything else. He looks out at the sea of comments, thinking to himself that yeah, he expected this, but it is still a special kind of hell. Even some of the saner viewers are pointing out how toxic the chat is, giving a shout out to the mods for their thankless job. But Botan's focus narrows because there is one type of comment that is really getting under his skin. It is the self-righteous demands, the fans acting like he is personally responsible for Yuta's life just because they are both streamers. He mentally sorts them into two camps, the concerned trolls and the openly furious ones, both equally insufferable. Our boy is just fuming because they are all screaming at him to name-drop Yuta, which is a massive breach of streamer etiquette. He finally starts talking, bringing everyone back to the tweet that started it all, the one about the cat. Then he gets serious, pointing a finger and announcing that there are some comments he simply cannot ignore. He clarifies that he can take the heat, but the slander and threats directed at the tiny, innocent kitten, that is unforgivable. He calls out the haters who are just mad because they do not like him, using this as an excuse to spew their usual garbage. But the chat in its infinite wisdom just doubles down, demanding he stop talking about the cat and address Yuta already. He's just watching the chat scroll by, noting that the speed and content are exactly as toxic as before. And his avatar calmly concludes that for people like this, the only option left is legal action. Addressing his audience, he admits he knows it is just a small, loud fraction of the fandom going wild. But he clenches his fist, deciding he has to go through with this anyway. It is for their own good. Then he drops the bombshell, holding up a stack of legal requests to unmask the accounts behind the worst threats. We cut to one of the trolls who has just learned that not only are they being doxxed, but a police report has been filed. This guy and his mom are absolutely panicking. He thought he could just spew hate with zero consequences. Back on stream, Botan's avatar just smirks, saying he only stayed quiet because dealing with them was a hassle. He then leans into the camera with a terrifying look, telling every hater out there to tremble. VTubers are not their punching bags. This chat log immediately fills with deleted messages as the mods work overtime, and someone comments that he is officially snapped. More viewers are just stunned by the sudden shift in tone, asking why he is being so terrifyingly cold all of a sudden. As the great message purge continues, one fan just observes the absolute carnage unfolding for the anti-fans. With a chilling smile, Botan warns them that if they get a letter in the mail, they better be ready to pay up. He points directly at the viewers, promising to show them the real-world price for their online behavior. And just like that, one of the trolls gets an envelope from his mom, his face draining of all color. It is an official legal document demanding his personal information be disclosed. The consequences have arrived. Back on stream, Botan stands there silently, having made it crystal clear he was not bluffing. This troll absolutely loses it, smashing his keyboard in a pathetic display of rage and regret. His tone changes real fast, now spamming the chat with apologies and claiming he was just trying to help Yuta. But Botan gives him nothing, prompting the guy to scream at his monitor, begging for any kind of acknowledgement. This troll is just staring at his screen, completely broken by the legal threats he just received. But Botan's avatar is not done, calmly telling the chat this is exactly the kind of behavior he is targeting. And our keyboard warrior absolutely loses it, crying his eyes out now that real-world consequences are knocking. Suddenly, Botan is pulled out of his epic villain monologue by a tiny meow from the kitten's cage. He immediately breaks character on stream, apologizing that his kitten needs milk, a true crisis management moment. His avatar just smirks while the chat collectively agrees that yes, the cat's needs come first. So our boy just starts bottle-feeding the kitten midstream, completely derailing his own legal crusade. This little chaos agent is just blissfully happy, full of milk and totally unaware of the drama it caused. Botan just smiles, calling the kid a little glutton, the whole terrifying vibe completely vanishing. He leans back, completely drained, admitting this whole legal smackdown was just the opening act. Back on stream, his avatar explains that was just a little warning shot before he gets to the main topic. With the kitten now calm, Botan steels himself, knowing he cannot keep the audience waiting any longer. His avatar pops back up with a cheerful sorry for the wait. The tonal whiplash is absolutely legendary. He finally addresses the Yuta situation, complete with a currently feeding overlay for the kitten. Reading the chat, he confirms he has full permission from both agencies to discuss this sensitive topic. His first point is a big one. He has absolutely no idea what Yuta's actual condition is. He tells everyone to wait for official updates from her company, which the chat seems to accept for now. Taking all that into account, he says he will now explain what he as a streamer is going to do. And then he drops the bomb, saying that honestly there is nothing he can do to help her. This troll watching from home just lets out a sigh of relief, thinking he is finally in the clear. But the troll is right back at it, hammering his keyboard and demanding to know why Botan will not help, while the rest of the chat chimes in, offering to crowdfund a potion no matter the cost. Botan's avatar calmly acknowledges their anger, admitting he understands why they are upset, because in theory he does have potions that could probably heal her completely. But then he drops the big reality check. There is a huge difference between what is asterisk possible and what is legal asterisk. He explains he is legally blocked from just handing over a potion due to all the laws created after dungeons first appeared. As the kitten continues its milk break, totally unbothered, Botan promises to give them the quick and dirty summary. He pulls up an explainer segment, breaking down the 3 main categories of dungeon-sourced items. First are the items you can trade freely, like monster parts you can apparently sell to the local fish market. Then there are items that require government agents with literal flags for heads to oversee the transaction. And finally, items the government just straight up confiscates, with potions falling into the last 2 groups. So whenever an explorer gets a potion, they are legally required to report it to the Explorers Association. After that, they have to make a choice. Either register it for personal ownership or sell it. If they choose to sell, the government either buys it directly or it goes to a state-run auction for insane prices. This explainer guy makes it clear that just giving a potion away is not an option, leaving the chat completely floored. Adding to the bureaucratic nightmare, using a potion on someone else is considered a medical act, which is a legal gray area. This hard and fast rule is that only licensed medical professionals are allowed to administer potions outside of a dungeon. And while some exceptions exist for this rule, Yuta's current situation sadly does not qualify for any of them. If she were to be hospitalized, only a doctor would be legally allowed to treat her. This all leads to the final point. Only Yuta's family can provide a potion to her doctors, meaning Botan can do absolutely nothing. With a laugh, his avatar admits that after all this drama, he cannot just stay uninvolved. And back in reality, he has already told Yuta's family he is available to consult. That is his final word. His avatar gives a deep bow to end the stream, leaving the chat absolutely screaming his name in panic. And with the stream over, Botan sits in the dark, ready to get to work, baby bottle on standby, of course. We then cut to a new guy bursting through a door, vowing to help find a way around the legal red tape. He's got this smug look, saying the plan is to keep things quiet for now as the operation officially begins. Later on a train, he scrolls through his phone as news of Botan's war on the haters spreads like wildfire. His warning shot apparently worked better than expected, since he notes the slander is already dying down. This train pulls into the station and he steps out onto the platform, clearly on a mission. Scanning the crowd for his contact, he spots a woman with long hair and seems completely surprised. She turns to him with a polite "excuse me," getting his attention in the busy station. This woman seems to recognize his voice, a look of realization dawning on her face. And it is confirmed they have found each other, their secret meeting now officially underway. Turns out she is Amame Ikika, a first-generation VTuber and his senior in the industry. They agree using their VTuber names in public is a terrible idea and decide to switch to their real ones, so she reintroduces herself properly as Sira Futaba, her actual name. And then our mystery man drops his name, Yazakura Shishio, which is Botan's real name. Botan just stands there for a second, processing this whole secret agent-style meetup. He is thinking she is exactly as he pictured, pretty, elegant, and with a certain mom energy. This flashes back to a work call where streamers fawned over her holy mother persona, but Botan thinks his real-life impression is totally different. He is internally categorizing her as the classic older sister archetype from a dating sim, a total capture target. Without warning, he drops into a full 90-degree bow, profusely apologizing for dragging her out to such a public place. But she is the one feeling guilty, knowing he is putting himself on the line just to help Yuta. Botan decides to just cut the awkwardness short and get straight to the point. He needs her help. She explains the connection was a total coincidence. She only got involved after a colleague's girlfriend mentioned his name. Our boy is just beaming, thinking it is awesome that a first-gen legend from a huge agency still cares about a friend's troubles. Her expression shifts, clearly not expecting that kind of earnest, almost starstruck reaction from him, and that genuine praise just completely short-circuits her brain, leaving her a blushing, stammering mess. This tables completely turn as she starts bowing to the public, absolutely mortified by the attention they are drawing. He is practically begging her to stop, insisting there is absolutely no need for the full-on groveling routine. Realizing they are making a scene, he grabs her arm and tells her they need to get moving like right now. So they just shuffle through the station in the most awkward silence imaginable, a masterclass in social anxiety. He is just face-bombing from the sheer cringe while she worries her thank you gift was the problem. Peak communication skills here. Our boy quickly explains it is not her, it is him. He just has absolutely no defense against genuine gratitude. And the penny drops, she realizes he is not annoyed, just painfully, cripplingly embarrassed by sincerity. At this point, she is just begging for a reaction because his silent meltdown is legitimately freaking her out. She grabs his sleeve, suggesting he try out a specific voice line from another VTuber to break the ice. Her producer brain kicks in, and she is suddenly pitching him on a shy boy persona, insisting her audience would eat it up. She is now deep in thought, comparing him to another streamer who is famous for dropping tons of cash on gacha games. Finally, she just admits she was making excuses because she is a fan and wanted to hear his voice, then immediately apologizes for the outburst. After her fangirl moment, Sira gets serious, saying they need to hurry up for Yuta's sake, her thoughts immediately turning back to their friend in trouble. She anxiously asks if Yuta can even be saved, admitting it looks like it'll take a literal miracle. But Botan just calmly states that if a miracle is what is needed, he is the kind of guy who can create one. Her whole demeanor changes, admitting his confidence is way more reliable than just praying for help. Suddenly fired up, she grabs his hand and starts dragging him along, leaving Botan totally blindsided. Internally, he is panicking, thinking she is surprisingly strong and this whole hand-holding thing is way too intense. Their mad dash leads them to a massive, modern-looking building, which is definitely not a cafe. He is completely confused, asking if they were not supposed to meet near the hospital. And she just smiles, explaining this cafe is located right inside the hospital grounds. Stepping inside, Botan is taken aback by how fancy it is, admitting he has never had a reason to visit a big hospital. Sira tries to get his attention, but our boy is clearly still processing the whole environment. He is just marveling at the tech, admitting he has been so healthy he has never had to see the inside of a place like this. This clicks for her, and she is amazed he has never been seriously injured even as an explorer. A quiet moment passes between them as they stand in the stark white hallway, and he just gives a super awkward laugh while she is wondering what that weird pause was all about. Brushing it off, he says it is nothing, while we see a flashback of him getting annihilated, which he downplays as dying a few times. Shifting gears, she gives a thumbs up, agreeing it is super convenient to have a meeting spot on hospital grounds. Walking down the corridor, she suddenly spots their contact and points them out to Botan. A woman with tired eyes and her hair in a bun turns around, recognizing Sira on sight. Sira makes the introductions, presenting Botan to Yuta's mother, Mito Kyoko, as an active explorer. This mother immediately gives a deep, formal bow, introducing herself properly. She is just so grateful he is willing to lend his strength, thanking him over and over for his help. Botan, ever the professional, tells her to raise her head, saying it is a pleasure to meet her. It turns out Yuta is friends with one of Sira's seniors, making this whole connection a wild coincidence. Realizing they are blocking the hallway, Botan suggests they find a place to sit down and talk properly. Once they are settled in the cafe, Sira takes the lead, saying they need to review the situation. Botan gets right to it, asking about Yuta's condition and confirming it is not immediately life-threatening. Her mother confirms this, explaining Yuta was just out with some friends when the accident happened. Apparently, she was exhausted from overwork and just collapsed while walking down a flight of stairs. Sira connects the dots, remembering Yuta was part of a huge game tournament for her agency right before this. This timing of the collapse and her previous nosebleed feels way too convenient for Botan, something's off. Luckily, the paramedics were fast and a potion was available, which is the only reason Yuta's alive. A quick explainer notes that even basic potions are great for emergencies, but they are all state-controlled. Yuta's mom clenches her hands, explaining that while her daughter is stable for now, the fall left her completely unable to move, just lying there motionless. And then comes the gut punch. She is paralyzed from the neck down due to spinal cord damage. Yuta is conscious, her mother says, but communication is difficult and not exactly smooth. She can take liquid food but the unspoken but hangs heavy in the air as the mother's hands tremble. Finally breaking down, she cries that her daughter's body is broken and the doctors say her chances of recovery are almost zero. Sira tries to comfort Yuta's mom, who is just completely shattered by the diagnosis. Explaining she desperately researched every option, knowing a potion was the only real hope. But all that searching led to one single, soul-crushing discovery: total and complete despair. To have any chance of a full recovery, Yuta needs a special grade potion, which is basically a myth. Botan just listens grimly, confirming what he already knew was coming: a top-tier potion is the only way. And we get a look at this god-tier item, a potion that can instantly restore even missing limbs. A helpful diagram clarifies it can fix pretty much anything, as long as you are not already in a coffin. Because of its insane power, very few explorers can even find one, and almost no one is willing to sell. Even if one does surface, it is only available through a government auction, which they'd already considered. Her mother says they even talked to Yuta's agency, but the amount of money needed is just unthinkable. Botan drops the price tag, bidding would start at 5 billion yen and that is on the low asterisk end. Understanding the full weight of her situation, he gently takes her hand to reassure her. He tells them he cannot make any promises, but he will do absolutely everything in his power to help. His first move is to ask to see Yuta, insisting they need to know her wishes before making any plans. This mother just agrees, a little stunned by his direct and determined approach. So the three of them head down the sterile hospital corridor, the mood heavy and silent. Yuta's mom announces their arrival at the door, letting her daughter know they are coming in. We get a sudden flashback to Yuta's VTuber persona, happy and energetic while greeting her fans. Sierra looks on with a pained expression, remembering her friend as she used to be. Another memory hits, Yuta singing her heart out on stage, completely lost in the music. Botan formally introduces himself as Yazakura, a junior colleague of Yuta's, and we finally see her, Yuta, lying in a hospital bed, completely broken and unresponsive. This scene flashes back to her vibrant VTuber self, reaching out with so much energy, then cuts back to the grim reality as the group enters her silent room. Botan pulls up a chair, gently introducing himself by his real name, Yazakura. He then clarifies she might know him better by his streamer name, Yamenushi Botan. Yuta weakly responds, asking to call him by her own real name, Ayana. Suddenly, Botan's eye glows as one of his skills kicks in without warning, revealing his unique skill, Ajna, which seems to overlay the room with a psychic grid. Through this power, he hears her first simple thought, just a faint ah. Her next thought is that his cooking videos look delicious, peak priorities from a hospital bed. This kid is just completely stunned silent while Yana thanks him for watching her stream. Her mom asks if he can actually read her daughter's mind, and Botan confirms he has a perception skill. He quickly reassures Ayana that he is only reading surface thoughts to protect her privacy, which is oddly professional. With that established, Botan asks for a moment alone with Ayana to talk things over. He hands a gift box to Sierra and her mom, asking them to handle it while he has his chat. They are both confused by the get-well gift, but he explains it is a dungeon food item that spoils quickly. Our boy wants to grate it up and feed it to her immediately, saying it is incredibly good for her health. Inside the box is a massive, glowing, immortal peach, a legendary item with restorative properties. This mother is totally overwhelmed by the gesture, but Botan just tells her it is fine to eat skin on and gets ready to serve it. With the mind reading established, Botan tells Ayana to just think about what she wants to say and he will pick it up. She is a bit flustered, pointing as if to confirm how this whole telepathy thing even works. After a quick test run, he confirms she's got the hang of their new psychic hotline, and he gives her a reassuring smile, telling her not to sweat it if this feels weird at first. He even repeats his privacy policy. He is only reading surface thoughts, so no need to be shy. This simple act of communication just completely breaks her and she starts sobbing with relief, causing our boy to immediately panic, wondering if he triggered some kind of emotional landmine. She explains through her thoughts that she is just so happy to be able to properly talk to someone again. And Botan just gets it, his expression turning serious as he processes her despair. Her thoughts turn dark, remembering the moment she realized all the simple things were suddenly impossible. Which is extra brutal because her entire identity and career is being a VTuber. Her whole on-stream persona is her talkative personality, and the stress of losing that is just crushing her. She apologizes for derailing the conversation, but Botan just gently tells her it is no problem at all. Crouching down to her level, he says that of course she is anxious, anyone would be. Then he drops a casual trauma bomb, saying he gets it because he is had body parts just asterisk disappear before a full-on sanity check moment. He recalls a time his arm was toast and he just chopped it off to be safe, which understandably horrifies Ayana. Bringing it back from that incredibly dark tangent, he gets to the actual point he was trying to make, explaining that even after that asterisk nightmare, he is standing right in front of her, fully recovered and alive. With a huge, genuine smile, he asks if that does not make her feel like there is a little bit of hope. But her hope immediately deflates, pointing out that his recovery was thanks to a potion, something she cannot get. Botan wags a finger, telling her that is not exactly the case, which leaves Ayana looking totally lost, launching into a quick lesson on how dungeon items are a chaotic grab bag of insane possibilities. Explaining there is stuff like magical beans that restore you and water that heals you instantly. Basically, video game logic made real. Not to mention scrolls that can literally just grant you brand new, powerful skills out of thin air, and even enchanted equipment that gives you bizarre abilities just by wearing it. With a mysterious look, he declares that dungeons probably have everything you could ever want or need. So he tells her with a gentle smile it is way too early to be giving up just yet. Ayana just lies there, still looking pretty defeated and unsure if she can even dare to believe him. Botan admits it is a cliche to say do not give up, but in this case, a miracle is something you have to make happen, and he leans in with a confident grin, saying it is because of one simple reason. If she is not serious about wanting this miracle, then his own motivation to create one will just completely tank. This actually gets a small laugh out of her, as she admits he has definitely got a point there. And right on cue, her mom pops back in, announcing the magical Super Peach is all graded and ready to go. She suggests they pause their intense chat for a bit so Ayana can actually eat something, her mother gently offering a spoonful, trying to get her to eat despite her hesitation. Ayana finally takes a small, tentative bite of the glowing fruit mush. slowly chewing, probably not expecting much from anything served in a hospital. But her eyes pop wide open. It is not just real, it is unbelievably delicious. While from the doorway, Sira and another girl watch on, completely baffled by the scene, and Ayana suddenly gasps, touching her throat as she realizes she can actually speak again. And it is not just her voice. Ayana realizes with a jolt that her hands are actually moving. Sitting up in bed as she stares at her own fingers, completely unable to process what is happening. From the doorway, Sira is just a mess of tears and shock, stammering in total disbelief, and Ayana's mom rushes in, hugging her daughter while crying with absolute, overwhelming joy. Sira is still frozen in place, hands over her mouth, just completely floored by the sudden miracle. Botan, meanwhile, just smiles serenely, casually remarking that it looks like a miracle just happened. This immediately gets Sira's attention, and she grabs him, accusing him of being behind this. But with a smug little grin, he insists he just brought a gift and came for a chat, nothing more. She is absolutely not buying his "I did nothing" routine for a single second, which leads to a quick explainer on the immortal peach, a known, if rare, dungeon food item. Because of its value, it even comes with a government certificate from an official appraiser, whose appraisal skill basically lets them scan an item and pull up its info like a Pokédex. Of course, the amount of information you get is totally dependent on the appraiser's skill level. A handy chart shows that if your skill is too low, you get nothing, but if it is higher, you get all the details. So the certificate basically confirms an appraiser was strong enough to identify it as a genuine immortal peach. Its publicly known effect is a full cure, but there are apparently unknown effects beyond that, making the government treat it like a new type of potion that needs to be strictly controlled. For now, though, it is just classified as a superpowered traditional medicine, a hilarious understatement. It turns out the original appraiser could not even read all of its recovery effects without getting zapped by the item's power. Back in the room, Sira, ever the rule follower, asks if this is even legal since using potions on others is a huge no-no. Botan smugly explains that if the peach's effects exceeded the official certificate, that is the appraiser's mistake, not his, giving a cheerful thumbs up and a no problem, while Sira looks like she's about to have an aneurysm. And she immediately calls him out, saying this is obviously a shady workaround that will not be recognized. But he just brushes off her concerns about legal trouble, literally swatting away the concept of consequences, explaining with a knowing look that these kinds of irregularities just happen from time to time, because the number of official appraisers is kept artificially low by the rarity of their required skill scrolls. So in this specific case, since no one lost money, he can just play dumb and get away with it completely. Which leads Sira to deadpan the situation. A miracle happened, and they are just supposed to ignore the mountain of sketchy details. His casual laughter makes her ask if he has pulled this kind of stunt before, since he knows the system's loopholes a little asterisk too well. And the guy just laughs harder, basically admitting he is a repeat offender who probably set half the legal precedents himself. Changing the subject, he says that searching for a miracle is a fool's errand anyway, gesturing for them to leave. While inside, Ayana and her mom share a tearful hug, and Sira feels like they are intruding on a private moment. Botan just waves it off, saying he will call the association and the doctor to report this little irregularity, telling Sira to stay behind and figure out the next steps, with Ayana and her mom leaving her totally confused. At the doorway, he reassures her one last time that no crime was committed, so she does not need to worry about that. Because when a popular VTuber is involved, public jealousy is a perfectly legal, if nasty, side effect. And we see her VTuber persona Yuta sitting alone under a spotlight, a public talent on display, while many fans will celebrate her miraculous recovery with overwhelming joy and support. Others will be absolutely furious, ready to metaphorically burn her at the stake for her good fortune, and she will be treated like a criminal, surrounded by pointing fingers and baseless accusations, the dark side of fame. Sira sweats, admitting she cannot really argue with his point about the inevitable public drama. Botan says it is better to hash out these kinds of problems early before they spiral out of control. She realizes he is about to get dragged in for questioning by the association, and he is just accepting it. He lays out her options: either jump back into streaming right away, fully aware of the consequences, or just report her recovery, let the public frenzy die down, and maybe even quietly retire. But ultimately, he says the choice is not up to him or anyone else. It is up to Ayana and her family to decide what comes next. Sira gets it immediately, promising to pass the message along to them. With his part done, Botan gives a casual wave and prepares to make his exit, but Sira stops him, asking what he thinks Ayana should do in this situation. He takes a moment to think, considering his role as the person who saved her and started this mess. His initial response is simple: she should do whatever she wants, before he catches himself. Sira is totally confused by his sudden hesitation, asking why he'd second-guess that. Because he clarifies the person he set out to save was not Ayana, it was the VTuber Yuta. He explains he heard from Reika how down Sira was, and his entire motivation was to see her smile again. This revelation just completely short-circuits her brain, leaving her utterly speechless. A helpful diagram clarifies that Sira and Ayana were basically just work acquaintances, not super close friends. When a big streamer gets into hot water, other popular talents are expected to cooperate to manage the fallout. If a cure was something money could buy, the agency would have crowdfunded it or sold merch to pay for it. which basically means when you boil it all down. Botan lays it all out, he only cared about her recovering and had zero interest in anything else. Flashing back to when he first debuted and how she and the other seniors were always looking out for him. So with a confident smile, he declares this whole miracle was just him paying back a favor, leaving Sierra completely speechless, her brain having apparently left the building. She stammers that this is a asterisk bit much for a favor, but he just asks if she is really that surprised, chalking it all up to a simple fact with a charming grin. Guys just like to act cool. Her mouth just hangs open, still completely unable to form a single word in response. Until she finally blushes and admits that yeah, he is definitely cool, totally falling for it. Mission accomplished, Botan gives a quick thanks and says he will be in touch as he turns to leave. But the second he is out the door, his cool facade shatters and he bolts, mortified by his own cheesy lines. Sierra is left alone in the hallway, still trying to process the absolute emotional whiplash, letting out a long, exhausted sigh. Before breaking into a huge laugh, calling him a total cheat for pulling a move like that. Just then, Botan hears a commotion down the hall as someone demands to know what is going on, and a hand clamps down on his shoulder, but our boy just looks over with a smug well expression. It is a cop named Tamaki who looks absolutely furious, yelling that Botan's pulled this crap again, to which Botan just gives a cheerful grin, complimenting him on his speedy arrival. And he is immediately getting dragged away by his hoodie, looking like this is just a minor inconvenience for him. Back in the room, Sierra just watches with the most deadpan. Of course this happened look on her face, while Botan, still being hauled off, just repeats that all he ever wanted was to see his senior smile. Sierra is just a blushing mess, completely flustered that she fell for his cool guy routine so hard. And him running off all embarrassed just makes it worse. She calls him a total cheat for being so slick. Back in the room, Ayana asks where Botan went, snapping Sierra out of her daze, who explains he is off to report the irregularity to the authorities and call the doctor, which shocks them both. Ayana's mom tries to bolt, insisting she cannot let him handle chores, but Sierra physically stops her, peeking from the doorway to explain that he can handle the calls and getting the doctor is just a convenient excuse. Instead, Sierra tells them they need to use this private moment to figure out what comes next, and Ayana looks over, calling Sierra by her real name Futaba for the first time. Her first question being pure worry, is Botan going to get arrested for all this? Sierra just gives a reassuring smile, saying it is fine because our boy himself said so, which calms Ayana down. But Ayana's still anxious, wondering if he will be back soon, while Sierra just has to trust it'll be okay. With a determined look, Ayana clenches her bandaged fist, clearly having something on her mind. Then she suddenly explodes, realizing she has not even properly thanked him and needs to basically prostrate herself in gratitude. Gently taking her hand, Sierra tells her to focus on the future for now and they can deal with that when he returns. Yana feels guilty, saying it feels wrong to prioritize herself after he did so much for her. But Sierra just smiles, reminding her that Botan was the one who told them to do exactly that. This hits Yana hard, realizing he is still looking out for her well-being, and she is totally flustered. A handy chart shows her affection meter for Botan absolutely blasting through the roof. His cheesy lines worked wonders. Sierra watches with a knowing smile, thinking she understands that feeling all too well. And Ayana admits it, being saved from a lifetime of despair for free. Yeah, anyone would fall for that. Sierra immediately starts gushing to Ayana about Botan, listing off his good looks and great personality, and she is torn between calling him cool or cute while he is just a dork making peace signs. Ayana just sighs, agreeing that he is a truly kind person, which is an understatement of the century. But Sierra cuts her off, grabbing her hand and saying there is something more important to discuss. Getting right to the point, she asks Ayana what she is planning to do now that she is recovered. These options are laid out: return to streaming, take a break, or just retire from the scene entirely. Ayana is completely floored, demanding to know why she'd even bring up retirement as an option. Tearing up, she insists she has tons of things she still wants to do as a VTuber and plans to return. Sierra then explains that this is exactly what she and Botan were just talking about in the hall. This warning is stark. If her VTuber persona Yuta makes a comeback, the internet will absolutely erupt. Ayana's confused, admitting she has haters but not understanding why it would be so extreme this time. With a gentle smile, Sierra reassures her that most people will not hate her and will be overjoyed, but there will absolutely be a vocal minority who refuse to accept a miracle, calling it an underhanded trick. They will be hit with wild speculation, accusations of being criminals, and slander from jealous strangers. This core of the backlash will be a single toxic question: why did you get to be saved? Knowing all that, Sierra asks if she can still say with confidence that she wants to return. Anna is just stunned into silence, the weight of that horrible reality finally hitting her. Meanwhile, Tamaki is literally grinding his fist into Botan's skull, clearly at his absolute wit's end. Some other guy tries to calm him down, telling him he is too old to be getting this worked up over a kid. And now he is driving, screaming at Botan in the backseat for causing trouble yet again. Some people never learn. Botan's already mouthing off to the cop in the car, who just screams at him to shut up. This cop is Tamaki Dateru, a superintendent from the elite dungeon crimes unit, basically a big deal. And a superintendent is way too high-ranking to be personally chauffeuring some kid around. But a flashback shows his boss basically assigned Botan to him as a permanent headache he cannot refuse. Tamaki complains that thanks to Botan, he has gotten way too used to being dragged around on wild goose chases. So he demands to know why our boy decided to cause asterisk this particular international incident today. Botan just flashes a blindingly innocent smile, claiming a miracle just happened. What is the problem? Tamaki absolutely loses it, calling him out for playing dumb when he knows damn well Botan has a top-tier appraisal skill. And yup, the text confirms his appraisal skill is so comprehensive it covers, well, asterisk everything. Our boy just shrugs it off with a casual so what? Like this is just another Tuesday for him. He cheerfully explains that a suffering girl was saved, the truth is out, and he is not pressing charges, case closed. Tamaki just groans, realizing this is a happy ending where nobody got hurt, which makes his job impossible. But the fact that a miracle peach was sold as a substitute for a special potion has every agency in a total panic. He yells that an item with that kind of power was being sold for the price of fancy groceries. To which Botan just waves it off, saying it is obvious only experienced explorers would bother buying them anyway. With a smug look, he lays out his perfect loophole. An item's effect is judged by the floor it came from, shutting down any complaints. A helpful dungeon map shows the 6 levels, from the easy upper floors to the terrifying abyss. Botan, in full-on lecture mode, explains that explorer levels are tied directly to these floors. These upper floors are basically for part-time students and amateurs just having a good time, while the middle floors are where the real pros fight monsters to make a living. Then you have got the lower floors, where only elite explorers and heavily armed special forces dare to tread. And the most important thing to know is that basically asterisk nobody operates any deeper than that. Because next are the deep floors, home to freaks who have basically abandoned their humanity. Followed by the ultra-deep floors, where our boy is just casually flashing a peace sign like a tourist. And at the very bottom is the abyss, a place so gnarly that even he has to get serious to survive. Which, in other words, means he has got the perfect excuse for everything. He tells Tamaki that if you are gonna pass an item off as a potion, it needs to be from the lower floors at minimum. And even then, it is just a low-grade equivalent that cannot be stored long-term, making it objectively worse. Tamaki gets it. The pros who actually go that deep would not bother carrying a fragile peach over a real potion. Popping up, Botan asks where asterisk special grade asterisk item like this one would come from. The ultra-deep floors, of course. And if that was the only asterisk issue, things would be simple, he says with a grin that promises more headaches. Tamaki absolutely snaps, grabbing him and screaming that he knows damn well Botan's appraisal skill can tell the difference. But our boy just points to the rules. You are supposed to write down what the skill reads on the certificate, which he asterisk totally did not do. So all he had to do was cook up a plausible cover story based on the official effects, and bam, case closed. While Tamaki is about to pop a blood vessel, Botan just cheerfully points out that people were helped, so what is the problem? He is just helping the police achieve their goal of protecting citizens. Less suffering is a win-win, right? Tamaki roars that the real asterisk issue is that he caused an international incident on a whim for a coworker's acquaintance. But with a cheeky wink, Botan asks what else you'd call helping a stranger besides a whim. Completely defeated, Tamaki just sighs and asks what the hell he is planning to do now. And Botan just shrugs. His senior was in trouble, a peach was growing nearby, so he grabbed it, that is it. Botan just lays it out. The world would never accept his simple "I found a peach" story, would it? With a smug look, he points out that he has not actually broken a single law, so what is the issue? Tamaki just groans, absolutely sick of this kid's talent for dancing through legal gray areas. Admitting it is better than using actual contraband, but it is still a massive headache for him. Popping up behind him, Botan cheekily asks how many times he has pulled some unidentifiable crap from his bag. 3. 4. He explains he has got a treasure box only he can open, which is basically a walking armory, and to prove his point, he casually pulls something out of his pocket. It is a glowing pouch, an item only he can use, which he has stuffed with all sorts of goodies. Tamaki has to admit it, the bag is full of unregistered junk, but this specific stunt was technically legal. But he warns that even if it is legal, public opinion is going to be an absolute firestorm of criticism. So Botan casually asks if he ever told Tamaki about his little side gig as a VTuber. Tamaki absolutely loses it, ranting about all the trouble they went through when he debuted under a fake name. Because he is not just an explorer, he is a VTuber, and Tamaki is begging him to quit immediately. But Botan's already on his phone, saying he has got a pretty good idea of how this is all gonna play out. Then asks about the other person involved in Yana's accident, the one who got bashed online. Tamaki is completely flustered because our boy just connected some very inconvenient dots. Botan gets serious, reminding him that he is basically a public figure now whether he likes it or not. And the same goes for Yana, who is now caught up in this mess with him. These headlines are already writing themselves: bribery, illegal dealings, and a public trial by media. Looking out the window, Botan just sighs that this is what happens when someone with influence helps another on a whim. Tamaki insists that the miracle excuse only works once before the whole world starts calling foul. And Botan just stares out the window, saying he is perfectly aware of how the VTuber scene operates, knowing it is full of jealous performers who are convinced they are the center of the entire universe. Which is exactly why Tamaki is so against our boy having any kind of public-facing career. His ideal scenario is Botan staying deep in the dungeons, quietly doing his job and never speaking to a soul. But instead he has got a living nuclear weapon yawning in his back seat while he screams about his reputation being ruined. This cop rants that it is just common sense. When a walking disaster like Botan causes a scene, complaints are gonna fly. So Botan leans in, explaining that since he has already got the spotlight, he might as well deal with the problem head-on. His grand plan, delivered with a terrifyingly cheerful smile, is to just keep streaming like nothing happened. Tamaki is obviously not buying this for a second, demanding to know what that is even supposed to mean. With a shadowy grin, Botan clarifies he will sue anyone who harasses them into absolute oblivion, no mercy. This superintendent just sighs, realizing Botan is about to weaponize the entire legal system against internet trolls. Popping up like a helpful gremlin, our boy asks if he is finally on board with being cooperative, then cheekily reminds Tamaki that his job is to follow orders, not mouth off about them. This sends Tamaki into a rage, screaming about what police justice is even for if it is just a tool for this kid's drama. Botan's counter is a vision of him over a pile of bodies, asking if this is not better than him snapping from slander, as a joke. Completely defeated, Tamaki says he does not care what happens to Botan, but there is another problem. He asks about the other person caught in this mess. What is his plan for taking care of Iana? Our boy just shrugs, saying he was going to handle it, but he is happy to pass her case off to the police instead. Taking the bait, Tamaki agrees to take over, promising to use his most reliable contacts to get it done. Tamaki calls him a monster in human form whose whims can literally affect national security. With a grin, Botan says he will accept the sentiment for now and tells the fuming cop to pass on a message. Hopping out of the car, he is completely focused on Ayana's decision and what it means for her. At that exact moment, his phone buzzes with a new message. It is from his senior, Sira. He immediately opens the chat to see what she has sent him. A smug grin spreads across his face as he says he is retracting his previous statement. Sira's message confirms it. Ayana has officially decided she wants to keep being a VTuber. She is fully prepared for the criticism and refuses to abandon her fans or her friends. This message ends with her VTuber persona asking him to please lend them his support. And just like that, an official announcement goes live. Yuta is returning with a comeback stream already scheduled. Cut to Botan already on his own stream in his VTuber getup, cheerfully greeting his audience. His chat is an absolute waterfall of praise, thanking the Mountain Lord for the miracle. He just laughs it off, joking that he never thought a healthy snack would lead to a full recovery. This official story is that a miracle peach with unknown healing powers was found, a buff peach apparently. He is practically cackling while explaining how the Explorers Association had to reclassify the peaches as quasi-special medicine. Of course, he admits that whole announcement created a massive headache for him personally. Meanwhile, another VTuber watches his stream, noting that Yuta's return is a rare happy ending in their world. Thanks to the incident, his channel's fame and subscriber count are now skyrocketing into orbit. He muses that this whole saga is wild enough to be a book, from the accident to the miracle ending. But his chat is already on the warpath, vowing to never forgive the haters who started this mess. Botan lays down the law on his stream. The people responsible for this mess will absolutely be held accountable. Then tells his chat not to send him any money because their donations belong to Ayana for her comeback. He is not in any trouble, he says, just some guy who got caught up in a weird miracle that happened to a friend. Meanwhile, the other VTuber involved in the accident, Iroha Jin, is having his own moment. He is on his own stream, gripping the mic and insisting he had nothing to do with any of it, trying to clear his name now that the truth is finally out. But Botan is having none of that, ordering his fans to give every last cent they plan to give him to Ayana instead. His chat absolutely explodes with praise, calling him a hero, which just makes him blush and cry from the cringe. Waving them off, he tells everyone to get the hell out of his stream and go watch Yuta's comeback, giving them a gentle smile as he tells them to go welcome their idol home properly. He then reveals his master plan. This whole stream was just a decoy to keep everyone occupied. In fact, he is not even watching her stream, just listening in while he messes with his setup, because his channel is just for making snacks and the real show is happening somewhere else. His chat figures it out immediately. He is running interference and providing aftercare, what a legend. So he announces the real content for tonight, the asthma of him frying up some chicken skin for a snack. But he is listening with every fiber of his being as her stream is about to start. This clock hits 9 p.m. sharp, it is time. And on her channel, Yuta appears on a massive stage asking her fans if they can hear her voice. Botan just smiles as his chat erupts, realizing she is kicking off her return with an emotional anime song. He is literally wiping away tears as the chat explains the song is about a forgotten heroine's miraculous return, a perfect choice. Yuta is pouring every ounce of her soul into this song, practically screaming, "Do not forget me." Her eyes are wide with pure, uncut determination. She is not backing down for a second, and she is a beacon of confidence on stage, declaring to the whole world that she is here to stay. Botan's chat is already breaking it down, calling it the absolute perfect song for a comeback stream, and the lyrics themselves are literally "I have returned," just to really hammer the point home, She is commanding her audience to watch her and burn this performance into their memory forever. Back on his stream, Botan smugly notes that a live performance has less impact than the anime, but he gets the sentiment, wearing this incredibly satisfied smile as he just soaks it all in. His chat is absolutely losing it over Yuta's performance, saying she is on a completely different plane of existence. while also pointing out he just blew past 800k subs, a nice little bonus for causing an international incident. He glances at his phone, a bit confused by his chat's sudden concern for him, then cheerfully explains his stream is just BGM for hers while he makes fried chicken skin. His chat is not impressed, so he just slaps a lid on the pot while his chat roasts him for even pretending to care what they think. He muses that he is kind of pulling a supportive boyfriend from the shadows move here, is not he? His chat is all over the place, some get it, some call him delicate, but everyone agrees it is solid risk management. So he grabs a knife, announcing it is time to get this cooking stream started for real. He casually heats a wok until it is literally glowing and his chat is just screaming in terror, then calmly preps some ginger and green onions for the pan. He starts slicing the ingredients with superhuman speed and the chat is like, only in a manga world is that even possible, leaving him all flustered as he insists it only took a second, but his chat knows he is the only one who could pull that off. So with that out of the way, Botan explains the main event for tonight's stream. He reveals the main ingredient is chicken skin from a lower-level monster, and his chat absolutely loses it over the size. Admitting he dropped it in some sand while collecting it, our boy just gives it a quick rinse. His chat points out it is the size of a doormat, but he just calls this manly cooking, no paper towels needed. To give everyone some context, he decides to post a picture of the chicken on Twitter, which turns out to be a terrifying, gigantic phoenix-like beast, and his fans are more scared that he was calm enough to take a photo. With everyone now properly informed, he asks if they are ready for him to start cooking this nightmare bird. This process is simple. Just toss the skin and some aromatics into a hot wok and let it render down. His chat is shocked by how easy it is, and Botan is just happy they are following along. Explaining the rendered chicken fat is basically a cheat code for making amazing ramen and fried rice. Now that the food is cooking, he settles in to watch Yuta's stream just as she is about to perform with a guest, and over on her channel she is on stage with two other VTubers announcing their next song as a trio. This three of them strike a pose, looking like a professional idol group ready to own the stage. Yuta is absolutely electric, pouring all her energy into the performance, pulling off some seriously dynamic dance moves as she belts out the song. Her stage presence is undeniable as she completely commands the audience's attention. Back in his kitchen, Botan is just completely captivated, admitting to himself how incredible she is. This performance is described as nothing less than overwhelming, the trio's silhouette reflected in her intense eyes. He is back by the stove, musing that the pros have insane video and sound tech that he cannot compete with, when suddenly his chat starts screaming at him to stop, warning him that something is dangerous. Turns out the danger was Botan casually sticking his hand into the boiling oil, and his chat is absolutely losing their minds. He just laughs, cheerfully explaining that a normal person would definitely get a major burn from doing that. But our boy is completely fine, saying a little heat like this does not even register for him, much to his chat's horror. After that casual display of being fireproof, he just calmly pours out the rendered monster fat. And just like that, he's got a pristine bowl of what he calls tyrant chicken oil, ready to be bottled up. He starts wondering what to charge for it, and his chat immediately roasts him, saying only fine wine gets to have that kind of price tag. Back at the wok, he just shrugs, saying the market will decide the price while he gets the actual snack crispy. His chat is still trying to process his finances, with some just begging to know how ridiculously rich he actually is. One commenter points out that seeing Botan's attitude proves the rumors about him and Yuta fighting over money were total nonsense. But another fan argues back, saying it is a tough story to debunk when he accidentally gave her an item worth a fortune. Spotting a comment he does not like, Botan decides it is time to set the record straight for everyone watching. He explains that in the deep dungeons, you find items worth literal billions like rare metals and legendary potions. Then he gets dead serious, pointing at the screen and declaring that this incident has nothing to do with Iroha Jin. In fact, he is so over it that he is about to bring the ban hammer down on a user for even suggesting it. With the problem commenter instantly deleted, he just smiles and announces that the money talk is officially over. Meanwhile, on her own stream, Yuta is just radiating pure joy, completely lost in her song. Botan holds up his finished bowl of fried chicken skin, saying he has got good food and a great show, so life is perfect. He proudly presents the final dish, a heaping plate of crispy golden brown monster skin, a final sprinkle of salt later, and his ultimate streamer snack is officially complete. He holds up a piece, declaring that the crispy skin is the best part, and his chat wholeheartedly agrees. His chat is absolutely losing its mind over the finished product, demanding someone bring the booze immediately. For the first bite, Botan decides to keep it simple, just a little sprinkle of salt to start. He brings the crispy monster skin to his lips for the ultimate taste test, and in that moment of pure concentration, the whole world just fades away. This verdict is in. It is so unbelievably crispy and delicious he is practically ascending. He explains how all the excess fat rendered out, leaving a perfect, juicy crunch. Our boy just cannot stop eating, saying it is as light as a potato chip while his chat enjoys the asmr. With a sly little grin, he turns away from the camera for a second, then pulls out the ultimate companion for fried food, an ice-cold can of beer. He cracks it open with a satisfying hiss, signaling the real party is about to start. This combination is pure bliss, he declares, as his chat calls him a food terrorist for the temptation. Taking a swig, he warns his viewers not to copy him since his body is, superhuman. To clarify, he could down liters of pure grain alcohol and not die, just another Tuesday for him. Next up, he dunks a piece in some spicy sweet sauce, calling the flavor downright criminal. A sprinkle of green onion on top makes for another winning combination, apparently. He is just living his best life, chugging beer and eating fried skin, a true king on his throne. Then he drops some wisdom, saying expensive alcohol is not always the best choice for every meal. Sure, he's got a cellar full of priceless dungeon-brewed liquor at home, but that is not what this moment is about, he insists, holding up his simple can. He explains that when food is this good, its flavor is just so powerful and assertive on its own. He clenches his fist, explaining that a flavor this powerful would just overwhelm anything lesser, and trying to balance it with some fancy drink would be a total waste of the food's potential. For a moment like this, he declares, a simple can of beer is the absolute peak pairing. His chat just soaks it in as he explains that as long as it is delicious, nothing else really matters. Meanwhile, on her stream, Yuta is just belting her heart out, looking absolutely angelic and overjoyed. Which just makes Botan smile, saying the most important thing is to enjoy the food, the drink, and the moment. A pile of empty cans grows as he insists bringing anything else to the party is just nonsense. But then he suddenly stops, completely caught off guard by something on his laptop. An incoming call pops up on his screen and he has no idea who it could be. Elsewhere, someone is typing furiously, deep diving into the lore of this whole situation. A forum thread appears with a new fan asking just how ridiculously powerful Botan actually is. This replies are basically a national security threat assessment. He is a one-man army who should not be a VTuber. Others are calling him a literal savior for how he masterfully engineered a happy ending for Yuta. And the best part, Botan's only public comment was calling Iroha Jin lucky, which just blows everyone's minds. Watching all this from the shadows is another VTuber, laughing about how entertaining this all is. Turns out she is the one calling him, and her name on the screen is Yamanyushi Botan. Wait, what? Suddenly, a chibi version of her pops out of a pipe in his kitchen, asking for a 3D collab. He barely agrees before she absolutely explodes with joy, celebrating like she just won the lottery. Kicking her feet, she explains she is a huge fan of super plays and always wanted to see one live. She gets right in his face, insisting they need to schedule it ASAP before he gets too busy. Botan tries to downplay his sudden fame, but Yamanyushi is already peeking over his shoulder, totally starstruck. And a quick cut confirms that yes, his social circle has officially gotten way too complicated. It turns out Yamanyushi was watching live as Yuta's fans basically started a religion with him as their god. He tries to explain the call he made to Yuta was no big deal, just a casual thing. A call that completely blindsided Yuta mid-performance, by the way, real smooth dude. Back in the present, he lays out the plan for their collab stream and she is vibrating with excitement. This plan is a dungeon cooking stream, pretty much a repeat of a collab he has done before. She cheekily points out that his last guest got the ultra-rare top-tier ingredients though, but she just waves it off, saying it is fine. Besides, as the old saying goes, nothing is scarier than free. With that settled, Botan dramatically pulls out a massive sack, ready for the main event. He unveils a gigantic slab of orc meat, and Yamanyushi absolutely loses her mind with joy. She is stunned he brought such a high-class ingredient, but he just shrugs like it is nothing. In fact, he clarifies this is literally the cheapest meat you can get from a dungeon, which just blows her mind. Even so, the demand for it is so insane that it is basically unobtainable for regular people. He explains that since explorers risk their lives for this stuff, the price is always gonna be steep. Yamanyushi gets it. If the reward does not match the very real risk of death, no one's going hunting. Getting the truly high-end ingredients requires a massive investment, making it a true luxury market. She notes that online videos always portray orcs as beginner-level threats, making them seem less dangerous. Botan asks if she has seen any of those clips and she nods, saying she is familiar with them. So what is her impression of an orc? Well, it is basically just a humanoid pig, right? Solid guess. Botan corrects her with a helpful diagram. They are not pigs, they are wild boars, thank you very much. He then asks what she thinks an amateur explorer is like, and she guesses they are just a bit weaker than him. Our boy just bursts out laughing, calling that a total miss before puffing his chest out about being top level. In fact, he clarifies even the most famous dungeon-crawling streamers are all considered elite tier. He explains that the average amateur explorer's physical specs are on par with a top professional athlete. Yamanyushi is completely stunned by this, unable to believe explorers are really that incredible. But Botan just flashes this absolutely terrifying grin, saying for an explorer that is not impressive at all. A handy pyramid chart shows that top athlete is just the peak for normal humans. Dungeons operate on a whole other level. She is still trying to process this, asking if that is true even for amateurs since they are fighting monsters. He confirms, pointing out the beginner orcs they face are way more dangerous than a wild bear. We are talking about a pack of muscular beasts the size of grown men who will actively try to murder you. So yeah, being an Olympic champion means nothing down there, which leaves Yamanyushi totally lost. His answer is simple: wisdom, courage, and a little bit of that fantasy RPG power-up magic. It is basically a real-life video game. You kill monsters, you get stronger, and you break past human limits. Bringing the lecture back to the present, he gestures toward the massive slab of meat on the counter. He gets serious for a moment, saying it is his duty as a streamer to make sure everyone knows orcs are no joke. Yamanyushi immediately bows and apologizes for her ignorance, but he just tells her not to worry about it. Then he laughs, saying if some newbie trusts the internet and gets minced, that is their own damn fault. Yamanyushi is horrified. With that charming lesson in personal accountability over, he suggests they finally cook and eat the orc meat. She asks what is on the menu, and he admits that since they are in a studio, he is limited to what he can do with the slab. Botan suggests they make shabu shabu, and Yamanyushi is immediately on board with the idea. She peeks over the counter, though, looking a little hesitant about something. It is the mountain of orc meat, which she points out is a tad excessive for hot pot, but hey, it is a gift for the staff. Back on stream, the chat is going nuts, demanding the staff get out of the way so they can see the food. Botan explains he is letting the staff handle the simple prep, putting them on a hand cam under immense pressure. While they do that, he is tackling the main event, slicing the gigantic slab of meat himself. Yamanyushi's eyes light up, realizing the super play she begged to see is finally about to begin. First, he explains the slab is way too big to work with, grabbing a knife fit for a giant. In one clean motion, he slices the entire massive chunk of meat perfectly in half. He then casually slides one of the halves over to the crew, saying that is their share. The chat is screaming with jealousy. With his own portion ready, Botan contemplates how he should slice it for the best presentation. He decides that since he is putting on a show, he cannot just be sloppy about it. Yamanyushi watches with a smug look, thinking he better perform well enough to satisfy his senpai. So he settles on a sashimi-style cut, sacrificing some speed for pure artistry, and Yamanyushi is floored. She is completely starstruck, gushing that his every move looks like a master craftsman at work. Yamanyushi adds that his usual cooking style is just an incomprehensible blur of motion. But Botan calls that method inefficient and decides to change his approach, tossing the meat into the air. His eye suddenly takes on a grid-like pattern as if he is channeling a high-tech food processor, and in an impossible flash of steel, he slices the entire thing mid-air into perfect, paper-thin strips. Yamanyushi's mind is completely blown, her eyes literally replaced with the kanji for meat. This meat lands on the plate in perfectly uniform, glistening slices, a true work of art. Yamanyushi is just blown away, saying seeing his skills live is on a whole other level. Then the incredible aroma of the shabu shabu broth hits them, and it is pure heaven. With the hot pot bubbling away, the staff brings everything to the table for the big feast. Both of them are practically vibrating with excitement, hands clasped and ready to dig in. Yamanyushi asks about dipping sauces, hoping for some classic ponzu to go with the meal. Of course, our boy has her covered, pulling out a bottle like a seasoned pro. This discovery of their shared ponzu love leads to a very intense, very weird celebratory arm wrestle. He then asks if she wants rice, and she absolutely loses it. Of course you need rice. And it is not just any rice, it is a perfectly steamed, sparkling bowl of pure white goodness. Next on the agenda is drinks, and Botan casually reveals he brought a little something from a pouch. Out of that tiny bag comes a whole liquor store, beer, wine, whiskey, you name it. She asks for a specific high-end shochu, and he just pulls a giant, top-shelf bottle from the fridge. Yamanyushi freaks out, asking if she can really pick something so expensive, but he is just like, "You like it." She clenches her fists and screams that she absolutely loves it, much to the chat's delight. This girl is practically in a state of religious ecstasy over this bottle of booze. He offers her ice, but she is a purist. She is taking this legendary drink straight. Botan takes a sip himself, going on a whole tangent about appreciating the pure, undiluted flavor, only to immediately grab a can of beer for himself because priorities, I guess. And with that, the whole crew, staff included, raises their glasses for a well-deserved cheers. Yamanyushi is in absolute heaven after one sip, declaring her day is already complete. But Botan teases her for being satisfied before the main course, though she insists the broth is just that good. Not wasting a second, our boy announces he is digging in first and grabs a slice of meat. He gives the orc meat a perfect dip in the ponzu sauce, getting it nicely coated. Then comes the pro move, a quick one-bound tap on the rice to soak up the flavor. This first bite hits, and he is completely lost in a world of pure culinary ecstasy. It is a complex taste, with the meat's subtle sweetness perfectly balanced by the rich, savory fat, and the sharp acidity of the ponzu cuts right through it all for a clean finish. Adding the fluffy white rice to that combo just creates an unbeatable flavor explosion. Yamanyushi finally gets her turn and just loses her mind, screaming about how incredible it is. Even the staff are devouring it, with Botan smugly reminding everyone they are eating expensive stuff. She is just shoveling it in, her vocabulary completely short-circuiting from the sheer deliciousness. This craziest part for her is that this is the lowest-ranked dungeon food, and it is this good. Meanwhile, Yuta watches from afar, looking genuinely concerned someone's taste buds are now ruined forever. Another VTuber is also watching, feeling a little bad that her senpai is only now experiencing this. Back in the studio, Yamanyushi chugs her drink, totally satisfied as the collab successfully wraps up. A few days later, a new VTuber with a music note theme is doing a sound check for her stream. She introduces herself as Sanaku, and standing behind her is a man who looks like her producer. With a sweet, almost knowing smile, she looks directly at her audience, ready to begin. Then we see her with a stern-looking guy in a uniform announcing the start of Sanaku's palace. So we jump back in time to see Botan's VTuber avatar, all smug and ready for a big external collab. This is just before the Yamanyushi stream, and he is getting a call from his manager, Kasai. He nervously answers, confirming his identity and asking if she's got a minute to talk. On the other end, his manager confirms she has an update on the external collaboration project. Botan is immediately hyped, asking if they have finally locked in the details. She formally apologizes for the delay, sounding all business from head to toe. She is also sorry that corporate meddling is basically restricting his streaming activities, but he just waves it off. Our boy gets it, he is repping the company, and after the recent trouble, they have to think about profits. And by trouble, he means the absolute firestorm with Yuta, which has finally started to die down. That is why he let management pick his next partner, but he still seems to have some reservations. His manager admits that from her perspective, watching him get held back like this is painful. Her concern suddenly clicks for him. She is worried this is stopping him from pursuing his real goals. With a small smile, he admits that yeah, doing more ambitious collabs is his ultimate VTuber dream. A dream that involves teaming up with his idol Lehman to cook some insane dungeon food together. But he tells her he is not in a rush and is fine taking things slow with this upcoming Sakai collab. He even jokes that everyone tells him he is too impulsive, always charging ahead like a wild boar. Besides, he clarifies a regular stream is not the point. His true goal is a full-blown asterisk offline collab. His manager points out the massive hurdle that requires trust, and after the Yuta fiasco, his is in the toilet. She explains that personal trust and corporate compliance are totally different, and so far he has only ever worked with his own agency. Botan just tells her not to worry since he is just having fun while also turning a profit. His manager, Kasai, wraps up the call, promising to send over the collab documents immediately. Botan confirms he's got the email, his focus locked on the screen as the plan solidifies. And with that, his VTuber avatar explains how all that backstory led to this very moment. We then cut to the collab itself, hosted by the super energetic VTuber Sanaku on her show. Sanaku's Palace. She explains the format for today, a Q&A session with a bunch of other streamers she has gathered. Her guests are a lineup of 4 guys known for being the most chaotic personalities in the VTuber world. But the stream immediately derails when 2 of them are mysteriously muted, leaving Sanaku baffled. This military-themed guy is having a full-blown panic attack. His wireless mouse died at the worst possible time. Meanwhile, the winged VTuber with sunglasses is just staring blankly, offering zero explanation, until he unmutes to announce his food delivery just arrived, holding up a fast food bag midstream. This other guests immediately start flaming him for ordering takeout during a live broadcast, a total pro-gamer move. Botan just soaks in the beautiful disaster, thinking this chaotic energy is exactly what big collabs are all about. He gets a little sentimental, realizing this is the first time he has really felt like he is part of this world. Another guest is just starstruck, admitting he is a fan of the others and cannot believe this is happening. Sanaku, bless her heart, tries to wrestle the stream back under control after that messy start. She kicks off official intros with the first guest, a cute magical girl who is, in fact, a middle-aged man. Next is the winged guy who introduces himself as a degenerate gambler who lives for chaos. This military dude follows up, apologizing profusely for being a walking tech disaster magnet. With the first 3 introductions done, Sanaku dramatically gestures to their final guest. And it is our boy Botan, introduced as the super rookie who is both a streamer and an actual dungeon explorer. Sanaku reveals she's been a fan of Botan for a while, which is why she personally invited him to the collab. She then clarifies that after watching him, she concluded he is a total jerk, and the other guests are like, yeah, that tracks. But she happily admits the entire panel is full of jerks and no one even tries to argue the point. This military dude is genuinely confused, asking if he is really that chaotic, but Sanaku's seen the receipts. Oh yeah, there are entire compilations of his tech failing and streams just dying mid-broadcast, a natural-born disaster. This gambler dude comforts him, saying his brand of constant failure is actually a powerful marketing tool in this business. He then tries to recruit him into his degenerate lifestyle, an offer that comes with a high risk of bankruptcy. Military guy still does not get it, insisting he is not that asterisk weird while his new mentor whispers sweet nothings about debt. Botan's just loving the chaos, but then realizes the conversation has suddenly pivoted right to him. Sanaku checks her notes and declares that based on his pre-show answers, Botan is easily the craziest person here. She is completely losing it, asking if he was serious, and our boy just laughs, confirming every unhinged word was true. With that settled, she decides Botan will be the grand finale for the Q&A session. She admits this is the first time a guest has ever challenged her skills as a host this much, and she is loving it. A crazed look of pure joy spreads across her face as she prepares to dive into the madness, and with a grand gesture, she reveals the first question for the panel on a massive screen. This question is simple enough. What is the biggest thing you have bought recently? Botan, knowing he is last, smugly thinks about how he does not really have any big purchases to talk about. Sanaku kicks things off by calling on the magical girl who is holding up a whiteboard, her big purchase, a brand new high-end microphone specifically for her ASMR streams. Botan immediately asks how much it cost, and she pauses to think, ready to drop the price tag. She drops the price tag, a cool 200,000 yen, and the other guys absolutely lose their minds. With that bombshell dropped, Sanaku calmly moves on to the next guest, the military dude. He proudly reveals his big purchase was a high-spec PC he bought right before his debut, but then he immediately apologizes for having such a boring and practical answer, much to Sanaku's annoyance. This gambler dude tries to comfort him, saying a PC is normal and the other people are the weirdos. This somehow leads to him in a full-on apology pose, as Sanaku calls him out for being a pathetic suck-up. Unimpressed, she turns her attention to the gambler, basically calling him the next weirdo in line, and this guy gleefully reveals he spent 2 million yen on a lucky bag from a gacha stream. Sanaku is just floored he'd spend that much on trading cards, but he is just like, hey, one good pull pays for it all. This rest of the panel cannot even comprehend that level of financial irresponsibility for a hobby. Even Botan, who plays the same game on an app, is laughing at how out of control that is. Sanaku then points the mic at Botan, declaring that his answer makes him the craziest one here by far. Our boy suddenly realizes this whole question was a setup just to put him on the spot at the very end. Still not fully believing what she read, Sanaku asks him to confirm what he actually wrote down. His answer is revealed on screen: 2 studios, complete with an image of 2 entire buildings. This entire panel just short-circuits, with one guest literally telling him to speak Japanese because that makes no sense. Sanaku asks if he means he got a long-term lease, but Botan just casually confirms, "No, I bought them." He explains he found a property that came with both a cooking studio and a music studio, so he just bought it. She is absolutely screaming at this point, unable to process that he just bought 2 studios on a whim. Botan just shrugs it off, saying it is not that big a deal, not like buying a whole new outfit or anything. This gambler dude is absolutely losing it, shaking Botan while screaming about the hundreds of millions he just dropped. He just calmly explains that booking studio time for voice work and singing is a massive scheduling nightmare. So having his own place to use anytime is just way more convenient, a simple solution really. This military dude just flat out asks Botan if he is maybe a little bit broken in the head. Our boy just calls it a capital investment while the others insist they are not cheap, but this is just off the charts. When the magical girl asks why he'd do it, Botan just cheerfully admits he is fully aware of his problem. His logic is simple: money in the bank is meant to be spent, and when you have enough, the balance barely even moves. This gambler is now his biggest fan, saying he has always wanted to utter that line about a never-ending bank account. He then grabs Botan's head, begging him to say no Chan if he dies, a true degenerate's last request. Sanaku finally cuts in, asking the real question. The cooking studio makes sense for his streams, but why the music studio? With a terrifyingly cheerful grin, Botan just announces it was basically a freebie that came with the property. Breaking all streaming etiquette, Sanaku just asks him point-blank how much money he is actually sitting on. This camera then pans to his laptop, showing a bank balance with a number that has 13 digits, and the entire panel just collectively blue screens, their minds completely unable to process that many zeros. Sanaku is just screaming, asking if he is for real because she has never even seen a number with that many digits before. This other 2 are now bowing and scraping, calling him an oil king and profusely apologizing for ever doubting him. Turns out that is just the profit from selling a single rejuvenation potion he found in a dungeon. It went for 1.5 trillion at auction. He is just pleased with himself, noting that while it was a bombshell topic, it definitely made the stream more exciting. This gambler immediately tries to hijack the stream, telling Sanaku to ditch the plan and just interview the billionaire instead. Flustered but unable to deny it, Sanaku just screams "shut up," causing a metaphorical explosion to get the show back on track. Sanaku, now physically pinning down the military dude, explains the next round's rules, answers first, then the big reveal. With a dramatic flourish, she unveils the next question: who here is the most awesome person on this panel? This gambler dude is stumped on how to even approach that, while the military guy insists he is the absolute bottom of the barrel. Meanwhile, the magical girl proudly announces she had 0 trouble answering that one, total confidence, 0 shame. This military dude asks if they all coordinated their answers, but the magical girl just confirms it was a total free-for-all. And for his answer, Botan just holds up a picture of his adorable cat Kaniko-kun, instantly melting everyone's hearts. This magical girl immediately calls foul, screaming that using a cat is basically cheating in a collab stream. Suddenly, the military dude recognizes the cat, asking if this is the famous feline from the incident. He then questions the incredibly basic name. Kaniko-kun, which literally just means Mr. Kitten. Botan just explains he kept calling it Kitten when he found it and the name just sort of stuck. Overwhelmed by cuteness, the magical girl wishes she had cat ears, but the gambler reminds her she already has mouse ears. This somehow devolves into her calling Sanaku mama, which gets a very loud "I am not your mom" in response. After wrangling the chaos, Sanaku announces they are moving on to the final question of the day. This screen flashes with the new prompt: what is your most recent, biggest screw-up? This gambler dude points out this is clearly a trap to get the rookies to spill some embarrassing tea, but the military guy completely misreads it, taking off his hat in respect for how thoughtful Sanaku is being, bless his heart. This magical girl admits that since Botan's answers are so unhinged, she saved his for last, making everyone nervous. This first screw-up is revealed on screen. I fell asleep during the planning meeting for this very stream. Everyone agrees that is a classic streamer blunder, a cardinal sin that absolutely tanks your professional credibility. Sanaku then points dramatically at the panel, demanding to know which one of them is the culprit. This magical girl proudly raises her hand, confessing she is the one who overslept, 0 shame in her game. Turns out the gambler dude did it too, but the magical girl blames a dead phone for her alarm not going off. Next up on the board of shame, I lost my wallet and the military dude starts sweating bullets. Then the gambler's blunder is revealed. He bet on the wrong horse because he filled out the form wrong, a true degen moment. Sanako explains her logic, saying by process of elimination the gambling mistake just had to be his. With a devilish grin, she announces it is finally time for the main event, Botton's screw-up. This magical girl looks absolutely terrified, bracing herself for whatever unhinged answer is coming next. Botton, meanwhile, is just cool as a cucumber, basically telling them to bring on the chaos. Our poor military guy is just confused, wondering why everyone is so worked up over a simple question. Sanako gestures with pure unadulterated glee, ready to reveal Botton's answer to the world, and his biggest screw-up is revealed on screen, heart failure, just that. This entire panel just collectively loses their minds, asking if this is some kind of messed up joke. Botton gets called on to explain, looking way too calm for a guy who just admitted to dying. This magical girl is desperately trying to rationalize it, hoping it is just an edgy joke for the stream, but our boy just cheerfully confirms it is totally real, and he has even got the receipts to prove it. He then offers to show them a picture of his actual ripped-out heart, casually mentioning he got better. We get a quick flashback of him just pouring a potion on his chest to fix the whole missing heart situation. When asked why he has a photo, he says he's been documenting his adventures, which Sanako immediately labels as psycho behavior. He then reveals he keeps the old heart in a jar as a specimen, since showing the scar would be weird. Sanako just snaps, asking if she is the crazy one, and the entire panel agrees. No, this is a trauma they will all share now. This gambler finally asks the million-yen question: how can Botton be so casual about having his heart ripped out? In his world, Botton explains that fatal wounds are just another Tuesday in the dungeon business. He then begins to tell the story of that fateful day he went on a little expedition. This scene is set at the entrance of a dark, foreboding cave, a classic start to any bad day. We see him in a flashback sprinting for his life with a mob of monsters right on his heels. A quick look back shows he has already taken some hits but is still managing to stay ahead. And the thing leading the charge is a massive, terrifying Oni boss, which is never a good sign. This monster unleashes a devastating attack, swiping down with incredible force. A look of pure shock hits Botton as he realizes he has made a critical, life-altering error. This Oni's fist goes straight through him, and his heart literally falls out because he forgot to store it, an all-time fumble. He is cheerfully recounting this fatal blunder while the military dude looks like he has seen a ghost. Meanwhile, the gambler is absolutely losing it, finding the whole story hilarious. This magical girl is just trying to process basic biology, asking if people do not just die without a heart. But Botton just smugly confirms that surprisingly it is not an instant game over. He then gives a quick science lesson on how the heart is just a pump you can temporarily do without. So she asks if he immediately used a potion to stop the bleeding, which seems like the only logical move. Nope, he countered the boss, finished the fight, and then casually patched up the gaping hole in his chest. Sanako is just speechless, saying any normal person would be traumatized for life by that experience. But our boy just laughs, saying you cannot be an adventurer if you let a little thing like dying bother you. He strikes a pose, declaring you are not a real pro until you have died at least once. This military dude is just begging everyone not to think all explorers are like this monster who casually revives from death. Sanako tries to sum up the absolute train wreck of a story they just heard. She officially declares that as normal humans, they cannot possibly comprehend Botton's reality, so they are just giving up. Everyone agrees that digging any deeper would just unleash more unholy chaos they are not prepared for. With that, Sanako finally hits the end live stream button, officially concluding the most unhinged collab in history. This entire panel lets out a massive sigh of relief, just glad they managed to survive the broadcast. A new punk rock-looking girl asks if they maybe went a little too far while Sanako looks completely drained. But Sanako just flashes a bright smile, saying it was a glorious mess and totally worth it since she invited him. This military guy admits the stream was definitely memorable, with the gambler adding that Botton basically stole the whole show. And Botton just gives a nonchalant shrug, as if to say that is just what happens when he is around. He then cheerfully suggests they all do another collab sometime soon, much to the gambler's utter shock. Looking at his screen, the gambler sees he is now friends with the entire panel, a first for him outside his usual circle. He gives a quiet, happy yes, clearly pleased with the new connections he has made. Our gambler is genuinely touched, saying he has made a new friend and is already looking forward to their next stream. This wholesome moment immediately vanishes as he gets hyped, yelling they should go even crazier next time. Sometime later, the gambler is at his desk on a work call with none other than Botton. Suddenly, that punk girl from before, Hannabi, jumps into the call, yelling Botton's name and startling the gambler. She is gushing to another girl about how wild the last collab was, calling Botton's segment an absolute explosion. This other girl, a quiet type with pigtails, just looks up from her book, completely bewildered by the conversation. Now she is totally freaking out, demanding to know what video link he is setting up and what in the world is going on. Hannabi just cheerfully admits she wanted to see their live reactions for the fun of it. This pigtails girl is now completely losing it, demanding to know when this stream even started. We then cut to Botton's solo stream where he is welcoming his viewers to a long-awaited cooking segment, He is broadcasting from his new home studio, which he confirms is the one from the infamous collab. After a cute little loading screen, the scene transitions over to his brand new kitchen. Standing in the professional-grade setup, he announces today's menu will be a simple egg dish. And by simple, he means he is using an egg the size of a freaking watermelon. The chat is exploding. This absolute unit of an egg is a monster drop, and his audience is already trying to guess the source. Turns out it is from a hegemon cockatrice, and he even provides a picture of the terrifying beast. He then polls the audience on what to make with it, holding the giant egg like a proud father. With a devilish grin, he declares he is making a classic sunny side up on toast, a breakfast of champions. This immediately sparks a fierce debate in the chat over the proper egg seasoning, a truly sacred war. Botan then casually throws more fuel on the fire by bringing up a completely unrelated snack food debate. After enjoying the chaos he created, he brings the focus back to the cooking stream on his laptop. These ingredients are laid out: the monster egg, bread, margarine, and some basic seasonings. Holding up the margarine, he seems to be gearing up to ask his audience another controversial question. He clarifies that butter is also an option, saying it is just a matter of personal taste. But then he asks how many people actually prefer margarine, kicking the hornet's nest once again. Delighted by the ensuing flame war, the chat officially dubs him a Tinder-making machine. Finally getting back on track, he starts by cutting a comically thick slice of bread. He starts by popping some comically thick bread slices into a toaster oven for texture. Next, he gets a massive wok roaring hot for the main event, the fried egg. For his cooking oil, he holds up a fresh tub of soft margarine. With a truly unhinged grin, he asks the chat how much they think he will use. And then he dumps the entire brand new block into the pan. The chat is screaming about the calories. Botan calmly explains his special method for cooking this egg, which is apparently not just frying it. He is actually using a technique he saw online, basting the egg with hot oil as it cooks. For some reason, he is now wearing a bird mask while trying to remember the fancy European name for it. This margarine is now a bubbling pool of liquid death, which he declares is looking good. With the oil ready, he carefully turns down the heat on the stove. It is finally time to introduce the monster egg to the pan, and the chat is holding its breath. He gently lowers the egg, making sure not to splash the molten hot margarine everywhere. This massive egg hits the pan with a glorious sizzle that sends the chat into a frenzy. He explains this basting method is the secret to getting a perfectly runny yolk. A little diagram shows how spooning hot oil over the top cooks it gently without overdoing it. For an egg this huge, he says it is the only way to avoid a raw top and a burnt bottom. This final dish is served with toast sticks, salt, and pepper, a breakfast that could kill a lesser man. He acknowledges the calorie count is basically a war crime but tells everyone not to worry. Because he is an adventurer, he can just chug a health potion to negate all the fat problems solved. He then tells his viewers they can eat like this too, they just have to fight monsters daily. He explains that for adventurers, both men and women, competitive eating is basically the national sport. Using a Minecraft analogy, he says you are just constantly grinding in a brutal world, so you have to eat. Delicious food is the only thing keeping your sanity meter from hitting zero, which is its own way to die. When you are locked in a life-or-death battle with a monster, your body just defaults to hoarding energy. Botan then clears up a common misconception people have about explorers like him. See, athletes are bound by rules, weight classes, and all sorts of physical limitations. But for an adventurer, it is a total free-for-all. Anything goes in the truest sense of the word. They use any weapon they can, push their bodies for insane lengths of time, and just endure. Because of that, their bodies are optimized for one thing above all else: survival at any cost. So his entire concept of health is on a completely different wavelength from a normal person's. He basically tells the chat not to worry since they are not the ones eating it and they are just like. Fair enough. With the biology lesson over, he grabs a knife, ready to finally dig into his masterpiece. He dunks a piece of toast right into the massive golden yolk, sending the chat into a frenzy. And the first bite is pure bliss. He is absolutely blown away by how incredible it tastes. This rich, concentrated flavor of the egg yolk alone is enough to be a whole meal. In fact, the yolk's flavor is so dominant it completely overpowers the tub of margarine, sitting on its throne like a king. Then comes the sharp kick of black pepper, adding another layer to this culinary chaos. For the main event, he puts the whole egg on a slice of toast and prepares to make a sandwich. He takes a massive bite, absolutely loving the crispy toast and the rich, runny yolk, a perfect combo. Even the egg white is perfectly cooked, crispy, and soaked in that delicious, artery-clogging margarine flavor. He says the taste is not like a dessert at all, it is a full-on savory meal in and of itself. According to him, it is like the concentrated flavor of dozens of eggs packed into one perfect yolk. Our boy is just completely lost in the moment, savoring every single bite. He almost finished the whole thing on its natural flavor alone, but now it is time for phase 2. Pulling out a bottle of soy sauce, he is ready to give the sauce faction their moment to shine. With a massive grin, he declares it is flavor change time and just absolutely douses the egg. This soy sauce pools right in the center of that glorious, runny yolk. He presents this new creation like a masterpiece, a perfect fusion of salty and rich flavors. This second wave of taste is so intense his brain is practically melting from the sheer bliss. His chat is complaining that he is too busy having a religious experience to give a proper food review. Elsewhere, the quiet pigtails girl remembers Botan's premium video is finally dropping today. She pulls up his channel, getting ready to click on the dungeon vlog watch-along stream. A loading screen pops up saying it is waiting for none other than Hannabi to join the party. And just like that, Hannabi explodes onto the screen with her signature high-energy intro. She confirms that, as promised, today is the big watch-along event they have all been waiting for. Her stream is already packed with over 21,000 viewers from around the world, all hyped for the vlog. Hannabi gives a little salute, admitting it is kind of terrifying how little she knows about actual dungeon life. Settling in, she explains that Botan himself requested this, but she has no idea what they are about to see. She is thinking this is a good way to manage all the wild, unpredictable attention he has been getting, because just being associated with Botan makes your numbers skyrocket. His subscriber count is already over 2.5 million. This chat immediately accuses Botan of orchestrating this whole thing just for the views. But the pigtails girl just stares grimly ahead, ready to let the haters say what they want. Turns out she had no choice in the matter. This was a request from a colleague she could not refuse. She knows she's just a fox borrowing a tiger's power, and she is the first to admit it. In fact, she is bracing for the flame war, clenching her fist for the inevitable chaos. Her plan is to endure all the hate and convert Botan's massive audience into her own fans. So she holds up a finger to lay down the ground rules for the watch-along. She tells everyone to pull up the vlog on their own screens since she cannot rebroadcast it. Then she sees Botan's waiting room has over 50,000 people and starts to absolutely panic. A 1-minute countdown timer appears on screen and the tension is just palpable. His stream kicks off with a content warning for intense footage, which is surprisingly professional. Next up is a cute retro-style loading screen that feels straight out of an old RPG. This vlog finally starts with a shot of a hand in the sand, as Botan wonders if he is recording. He gives a chill good evening to his premium viewers, acting like this is just another Tuesday. Then he drops the bomb that he is on a tropical beach asterisk inside a dungeon asterisk, and Pigtail's brain just breaks. Our boy decides standing around is lame and casually strolls toward the water to get started. He makes a strange hand gesture at the ocean, leaving everyone completely baffled as to his plan. And then he parts the entire freakin' sea like a modern-day Moses, revealing the ocean floor. This sends Pigtails into a full-blown screaming fit, utterly unable to process what she is seeing. Her chat simultaneously explodes with a mix of pure worship and absolute unhinged confusion. Pigtails is just spamming no no no, her brain completely fried by what she just saw. She is desperately trying to convince herself it is just really good CGI, it has to be fake, right? Meanwhile, Hannabi gets a sudden, chilling feeling of deja vu like she has felt this before. A different girl also looks on in horror, recognizing the sheer scale of the event. It reminds her of watching disaster footage online, a feeling of absolute, overwhelming power. Back in the vlog, the parted sea crashes back together as Botan declares the war has officially begun. He then turns to the camera with a grin, casually mentioning the enemy that is here to kill you. Pigtails snaps back to attention, completely stunned by his nonchalant declaration of danger. This ocean itself begins to swell and bubble, rising into a massive, unnatural mound, and then a colossal monster erupts from the depths, a giant watery sea slug thing. Our girl is now screaming at her monitor about the impossible physics of it all, demanding he look at reality. A cute chibi Botan pops up on screen to give a quick rundown of today's target, of course. He introduces the Yumi Furashi, a giant astral monster made of seawater, basically a kaiju-sized sea slug. She is losing her mind over how casually he is explaining this, while Botan just smiles back knowingly. These two massive walls of water are now holding the giant slug monster suspended in midair. Chibi Botan explains he is literally making it rain ocean, and Pigtails is just screaming at him to get to the point. Defeated, she slumps over her desk, admitting that even her simple brain can grasp the situation now. She realizes that if a monster of that size falls from the sky, the impact will be catastrophic. But Botan just smirks, announcing the start of the super-large monster subjugation like it is a game. He takes a single, deliberate step forward on the exposed seabed, ready to begin the fight. Botan lays out his strategy, with option 1 being run away, since getting hit is instant death. But since a normal response is pointless, he is going with option 2, parting the sea again. With a completely unhinged grin, he sprints directly toward the watery chasm he created. He then does a sick backflip over what looks suspiciously like a sea mine on the ocean floor. Pigtails is just screaming at her monitor, completely unable to follow his nonsensical logic. This giant slug monster is now just sitting there on the seabed, looking totally dazed. Looking like a full-on supervillain, Botan summons some energy orbs and invites the kaiju to play. He is now literally running on water while dodging lightning, and Pigtails is just watching him die. As she lets out another shriek, Botan slams his fist into the ground with incredible force, and the video abruptly cuts to him in a fancy outfit, cheerfully signing off for the day. He then has the absolute nerve to ask everyone to like and subscribe if they enjoyed that chaos. Two little chibi versions of him wave goodbye as the chat absolutely loses its mind over the cliffhanger. Pigtails just stares at her screen, completely catatonic after that absolute fever dream of a vlog. She finally snaps, calling Botan a total moron for his smug little adieu at the end. Meanwhile, the other streamer just slumps in his chair, wondering what he just unleashed on the world. His hands hover over the keyboard, realizing this content is way too intense for a normal stream. A final, chaotic image shows Botan giving peace signs while standing in a sea of flames. Elsewhere, the other girls are in total shock, knowing this one video is going to cause a massive stir. A completely new girl with blonde hair appears, declaring she is now putting all her faith in Botan. At that very moment, her eyes gleam with a newfound, slightly terrifying devotion. Botan's vlog has officially broken the internet, with clip channels and wannabe adventurers popping up everywhere. Hannabi is absolutely losing it, screaming his name as she realizes this has become a global political incident. On a call, she is chewing him out for sending that insane footage to her stream while he is just stretching, zero cares given. Meanwhile, the other girl tells him she was completely shocked by the video and a little warning would have been nice. He just leans back, explaining that her genuine, soul-leaving-the-body reaction was the whole point, so no spoilers. He lays it out plain and simple. Dungeons are normalized, but an adventurer's job is still a deathmatch against monsters. His reasoning for picking that specific kaiju: it is made of water, so no blood, and Hannabi is just fuming at his logic. Botan then reveals he did not just stumble into this VTuber gig, he is actually having a blast with it all. He finds it hilarious watching newbies react to real dungeon life, which earns him a "you have a terrible personality" from Hannabi. But that is not the only reason he is doing this, leaving Hannabi completely baffled by his motives. His expression shifts, getting serious for a moment as he puts that thought aside for now, because his sub count has exploded to over 21 million, and with great numbers come great big problems. Problem number 1, the anti-fan hate mobs have officially been activated and are on the warpath. And the second, more troublesome issue is a fundamental shift in his entire audience. Most of his new subscribers signed up after that insane video, wanting more adventure content from him. But he is a VTuber first, so he is still gonna be playing games and doing his usual streams. He knows this new crowd could not care less about his chill cooking streams or his random chats. This real issue is that half of this massive new audience is from overseas, a completely different ball game. And you cannot just ignore a massive international fanbase. That is not how this works. Because when you are dealing with an international audience, things can get complicated very, very fast. This language barrier is a huge issue, with his international audience totally lost during his chat streams. His team just stares at the keyboard, bracing for the chaos that is about to unfold. And his chat is a multilingual flood of people demanding one thing: more dungeon talk. Botan tries to explain it is not that he is ignoring them, he just literally cannot respond to foreign languages. Normally, a VTuber would just riff off the comments to keep the stream lively and engaging. But his international viewers are now completely drowning out his original Japanese fanbase. This brings him to problem number 3, the sheer difficulty of doing collabs at his level. Because his subscriber count is not just big for a VTuber, it is top tier for any creator in the entire country. He cannot just accept random collab requests from rookies anymore. It'd be a logistical nightmare. Instead, he is the one getting swarmed with offers from everyone, putting him in a super awkward spot. This guy's basically become unapproachable, a god-tier creator who is too big to hang out with. So he announces his grand solution. He is launching a brand new sub-channel to fix everything. His chat immediately freaks out, thinking something terrible happened or he is deleting his main channel. He clarifies the sub-channel will be for all his regular VTuber stuff: gaming, cooking, and collabs. Meanwhile, the main channel is now officially the dedicated home for all his insane dungeon vlogs. With that sorted, he gets down to the real business of announcing his new content strategy. He lays it out bluntly, stating that he is now at the very top of the VTuber food chain. His brand new sub-channel already has 3 million subs, so the whole rookie act is officially dead. With this much attention on him, he admits it is pretty obvious he is a big deal now. So from now on, he is done waiting. He will be the one reaching out to people for collabs. He has already gotten the green light from a few streamers, ready to kick off his new collab-heavy era. With a smug grin, Botan tells everyone to keep an eye on his socials for the upcoming announcements. Elsewhere, someone watches his sub-channel announcement stream on their phone. A new guy in a fancy vest sees the news and immediately calls it a declaration of war. A rival appears. This stage is officially set, and the timing for a new conflict could not be more perfect. Cut to Botan's cooking stream, where he is all smiles and welcomes everyone to his sub-channel. He is showing off a brand new kitchen he apparently bought on a whim after a previous studio shoot. And for his first guest, he has literally kidnapped Hannabi from the office and thrown her in a cage for a surprise collab. This other girl from the watch-along is just standing there, completely baffled by the sight of her colleague in a jail cell. Botan just gives a thumbs up, explaining he cannot have her escaping while he is cooking. What a psycho. He then unveils the main ingredient for his recipe, a giant, monstrous-looking appendage. Hannabi's face just melts in pure, unadulterated horror at the sight of the monster parts. She is so repulsed she cannot even look, trying to physically block the view with her hand. Later, she is forced to taste test the final product while Botan casually checks his setup, completely unbothered. Next up is a collab with a super energetic host who is screaming at her audience to burn. This other streamers are impressed by his voice, and he immediately asks if they want him to solicit them. A flurry of black feathers cuts across the screen, signaling a change of pace. Under the moonlight, a traditional building stands ominously as someone whispers it cannot be. Now he is in a mahjong collab with a winged guy and a dude in a military uniform. This winged guy asks what he is scheming with all these collabs, and Botan just laughs, calling him the one with a bad personality. Botan calmly plays his mahjong tile, saying he is not one to scheme. Usually, this winged guy gets philosophical, talking about how he is finally achieving his long-held goals. and the dude with the shades just grins, saying he is a big fan of that raw ambition. This three of them are just chilling on a balcony, having a surprisingly deep chat mid-game, but their fourth player, the military guy, suddenly disconnects, his screen going blank. His teammates immediately start clowning on him for not only dropping but also muting himself. He finally reconnects in a total panic, screaming that his turn timer is about to expire. And right on cue, the timer hits 0 and the game auto-discards a tile for him, oh no. This other two instantly declare victory off his mistake, and the poor guy just absolutely loses it. His friend is just yelling at him, asking why on earth he'd throw the winning tile. But the winged guy gets real creepy, saying a true hunter should be kind to his prey. Back in the present, Botan highlights his new strategy, more collabs more often. With his plan finalized, he gets ready to put the next phase of his career into motion. He is already making preparations to welcome a streamer named Sakai Jin for a future collab. First step is grabbing his pack to go gather some ingredients for a proper welcome party. This triggers a sudden flashback to a dark cave, filled with the sound of a distant scream. We see a younger Botan, remembering the very first adventurer he ever looked up to. This memory is of a lone fighter facing down a massive, terrifying, dragon-like monster. And that adventurer was none other than Sakai Jin, back in the year of his legendary debut.